All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. That means it's time for your favorite show, Big Three. Uh, joined by Jake, Jordan. Dylan said he'll be a little late, so we will have a full crew, just not right now at the start. But before we get into everything, Jordan, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Glad to be on. Post-draft show. Oh, that's my dad on the phone. My bad. But it's all good. Glad to be on the show with y'all. We're gonna have another good episode. Crazy draft. Got some games tonight. LA versus Golden State, and I think the first game is Knicks versus Heat, game 2. So I'm excited. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great. It's been a fantastic week for sports with the draft, the playoffs. It's all been great. I want to start the episode off and give a big apology or props to Jordan. Yep, he knew. Jordan knew before he did this start what I was going to do. And I will be all my podcast stuff I've ever done, any sports opinion, I'll be the first person to admit when I was wrong. And I was dead set, convinced that Lamar was not going to come back to the Ravens. I thought for sure the bridge was burned, and Jordan never gave up hope. He stayed the truest fan. Some could even call him potentially a homer. But Jordan, you never gave up. I was wrong. You got your guy, so congratulations.
Do you think that Lamar will stay a Raven after the 5 years, or do you think he'll do you like the Brady route?
I think you're pushing your luck right now.
Yeah,
probably how the 5 years plays out.
Mm-hmm. We just got to see, and a lot of it has to do too with health, like for any position, not just because he's a running quarterback. We have to see what health goes. We have to see how they perform. But you got your guy, and I was wrong.
Yeah, I have to ask you, Jake. So, where do you what team did you think you were going to go to? Like other than the Ravens, what do you? Who's your top team?
There were two teams that made the most. Yeah, the two teams that made the most sense to me was Atlanta, and I think everybody kind of thought Atlanta was going to be the smart pick because they have every position pretty well set besides quarterback. And there's a podcast I was listening to, someone that spouted out that the Detroit Lions would actually be a really good fit. They have all this offense, they have a great offensive coordinator. They could give up the second first-round pick that they own, which is pick 18, and then next year's first-round pick, and it would be a perfect fit. I thought that would work. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, I like that idea. I want to run with it. Those were the two teams that I thought made the most sense. But I was wrong, and they got the deal done. So congrats to you and to Lamar for getting his money. He definitely deserves it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Kyle Never's going to give me my flowers, man.
You got that right. I'm not apologizing. Man, get out of here. All I will say is
that's on TikTok. F Kyle.
Because look,
Jordan, you're not gonna give him the credit for staying level
Jordan. I understand how you work. You were gonna stay loyal no matter what. They could have said.
Don't say that. Don't say that because you're my freaking goddamn podcast co-host. I'll say that.
They could have said Lamar bought a house in Atlanta, bought a dog down there.
I still think he's a Ravens.
Moved his wife down there or something. You'd have been like, he's just vacation shopping. He'll be back in Baltimore.
Who doesn't like Atlanta?
And I'd be like,
he can be at a Louis Vuitton store in California, buying the bag, buying his girl and the family a bag. He's still a Raven, man.
Yeah,
like I said, so Jordan was right, but he was a bit of a homer.
But I feel like the credit I guess I'll give you credit for this.
I guess you better give me credit.
I'm not giving you credit for calling Lamar and all that, but you stayed.
But didn't I say it was gonna? But didn't I say it was gonna be happen either I want it done before the draft, right? I said that. Many
Yeah,
occasions.
you did. You said you wanted to happen before the
day,
draft.
right? So yeah, okay.
Happened draft day.
So I'll say you stayed true to your fandom, and it worked out for you. I do wonder if he had signed somewhere else. What would you have said?
I still would have been a Ravens fan. I mean, I'll say he gets his money.
I figured that about you, which, like I said,
Oh, you think I'll be a Patriots fan and go to the Patriots? I'm not. I know Freddie, man. That's all gonna be an inside joke between
I
all
feel
of us,
like
man.
you are a Ravens fan, not necessarily just a Lamar Jackson fan. So you wouldn't do the thing like if Lamar went to the Rams, you'd be a Rams fan. If you went to the Bears, you'd be a Bears fan. I think you'd be a Ravens fan, and you'd be like, "Good luck, Lamar."
Like if we got Anthony, like say if we traded up and got Anthony Richardson or like Bryce Young,
you would have came on here and been like, Anthony Richardson's a better version of Lamar Jackson.
He's gonna be better than Lamar.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you this: like, say if like, okay, say like retrospect, you get Tom Brady like today, right?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, you know what I'm saying? I mean, okay, how would you feel? Like, would you be a Patriots fan if like Tom Brady went somewhere else? You know, like if you got him today,
he went to Tampa Bay, and I'm still a Patriots fan. Now, trust me, a lot of Patriots fans when Brady left became Bucs fans, and those are the fans I'm like, okay, go have fun.
Part of that has to do with the fact that Patriots weren't very good and the Buccaneers were. I think a lot of it had to do with like maybe a second team almost, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I mean, like Brady was there for 20 years. How many athletes do we see spend 20 years in one place? So for me, it was like if he wanted to go, he's done enough in New England that he has the right to go somewhere else, and I'm not going to kill him for that. And I'm also not going to jump off, the Patriots, I guess, bandwagon as a fan of theirs because, the guy who won so much for us decided to leave. Like it got so ridiculous because people were like, oh, Belichick's past his time. He needs to go. He forced Brady out. Where it's like Brady can think for himself. If he was just truly over and wanted something new, that's it. That's where the story needs to end. So, yeah. So I give you credit for that. You stuck true to the Ravens, and you believed it hard enough, and it came true. So now you can go through the next 5 years coming on here talking about Lamar's great. Lamar's better than, I don't know, whoever we'll be talking about, like Trevor Lawrence, or Lamar's better than Joe Burrow, because we know that's a rivalry with you. You hate the Bengals.
Oh, the Bengals, yeah.
Let's not even give Jordan an idea because we don't need to go into that till October or September.
Oh, by the way, I know we'll get into it, but Joel got the MVP. That's official.
Yes.
Congrats to him. Absolutely deserved.
That's official. Yep.
Looks like the top three, yes. Joel Embiid, Jokic, and then Giannis. Which I mean, that's. I was trying to see the points. All right, so Embiid got 73 out of a possible 100 first place votes. So that's pretty convincing.
Yep.
TNT.
Let's see how many. How did the vote
what is he saying on that? He's doing a little speech.
Yeah, so Embiid was chilling last night with his Balenciaga on. He gets his MVP now, so he's living the good life. I'm not mad at that. I thought he was going to get it anyway. A lot of people looked at the past 4 or 5 years and figured he should have gotten one of those years. He finally gets his. Now we can move on to the next guy that NBA analysts will be like, he deserves an MVP. I'm sure he'll probably go to Luka or
Chris Paul 3 to 5 games for groin. That's big.
Chris Paul's done.
I mean,
that's what Craig just posted.
Yeah.
Once the calendar hits playoffs, a CP3 injury is most likely coming at some point.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later on. I'm sure. I got a whole.
We definitely will. Yes. But I mean, we go ahead and get into the NFL stuff now that we've let you know that Embiid is now the MVP. Hold on. Got a couple people. Daniel Berry, who's always in our chat, saying, yo, what's going on? Then he says, go Lakers. I guess.
Yep, go Lakers, man.
Keep that to yourself. I'm scared.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah, like Kyle said, you're always tuning
Yeah.
in.
It's always one of the first ones. And then Jory, I mean, appreciate you as well, Jory. CP3 is done, and so are the Suns. Yeah, you wouldn't be
I
outrageous.
mean,
to say
I want to
that.
write off Booker and KD, but they need a point guard, So
Well, yeah, we'll get to the NBA, and we got
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
plenty to talk.
No, it's all right.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah, we were just acknowledging Jory's
Our basketball
comments,
stuff
so
is going to be great. It's going to be
Oh,
fantastic.
I know. I'm like in the comments, they're already getting there, stirred up, the pot stirring. So
yeah. And I mean, we say it every week. We appreciate you.
like,
all in
what?
the
Screw
chat.
NFL. This is NBA playoff time. Like that's like.
Appreciate you guys in the chat. Keep them coming. We will definitely pull you up each time you drop a comment and throw questions in there as well for us.
Oh yeah.
But we're
Oh, like while I'm live, I want to give a shout out to Jory. For coming on. You and Brett. I know Brett's.
What's up, Joshua?
I know Brett is away, but I know I want to give you a shout out, Jory, for coming on to the show, my show earlier. Hop in the comments, and I appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Look at everyone. If you want to subscribe to my channel, so JJ Sports Talk on YouTube, and I'm everywhere. So, but again, I appreciate I'll give you your flowers, Jory. Thank you for coming on and supporting, and hopping in the chat. And Joshua, I told you, man. I sent you the link. You came. You didn't even come, man. No, it's like, no, it's all good, bro. But man, next time I go live, man, I'll go live. I'll shout you out, man. But yeah, man, I'm just playing with Joshua. But I did send you the link. It's all good. It's all good, brother.
There'll be other opportunities. Yeah. So
no, it's all right, Josh. I was messing with you, man.
So looking at the NFL, just had draft week. Now we kind of get into the period where teams are pretty much finalized at this point. You signed everybody from free agency. You got your draft picks coming in. You have the ones that you figure will make the team. There are other ones that might have a shot at it. But we're going to start with Jordan's guy, Lamar Jackson. He got his extension. And we know Jalen Hurts recently got his, so we've seen two of the young guys get their money. Now, the first question I had was, do you think the Hurts deal had anything to do with Lamar getting his extension? Or do you think they're just two separate entities and there's no coincidence whatsoever? We can start with Jake on this one. I know, Jordan, you probably have a lot to say, so I'll save you for next. But I'll just say because it's your guy, so I know you'll have So Jake, what do you think?
Sure.
All good, man.
I think they're definitely related. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks, Lamar and Jalen. They're very comparable. They're both athletic. They're both more mobile quarterbacks. There's always been kind of a history of fear of paying quarterbacks that use their body more, given these long-term contracts. Jalen Hurts kind of set the market with this big contract, which I think he totally deserves. And I think that kind of was like the last pressing thing for Baltimore to be like, okay, like if you want Lamar, the market is set. You can't have much more of a comparable quarterback that got paid than Lamar. Like Hurts got to a Super Bowl, but Lamar won an MVP. Like those kind of, you could say they could kind of balance each other out. And I think they totally, they're related. There's no way this is happenstance. There's no way that the timing just happened to coincide. And I'm happy for Lamar. He totally deserves his money. I'm happy for Jalen Hurts. He totally deserves his money. They're both fantastic quarterbacks. But yeah, I'd have to say they're coincident. Things don't happen with contracts that are coincidental when it comes to big money like this.
Okay. So, Jordan, do you see any connection between the two deals or not?
Like connection as far as like he got his deal done and Lamar got his done. Like there's like a connection.
So basically, Hurts got his money. We know what the parameters of his deal were. What was his contract? I know it was like. I know you said it wasn't fully guaranteed.
Hurts or Jackson.
Hurts first, yeah.
So
I know Lamar's like 260, I think.
Hurts is 5 years, $255 million contract. The signing bonus is $23 million, and it is $180 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
And
80 million
Lamar's is
Lamar's
5 years,
got
260 with 185 guaranteed.
So they have the same guaranteed amount.
Basically,
Like you said,
it's a
185?
difference of $5 million in guaranteed money.
So Hurts has 180 guaranteed.
It's Hurts is 179 and some
179.
change.
Basically
And
180, I guess.
And then Lamar Jackson's 185
185.
in guaranteed. So $5 million difference between the two.
Josh, you're right. I mean, it's time for Lamar to stay healthy and produce. I mean, that's like, even though he has his new contract now, like Josh was right. Like the value of the way he produces and he stays healthy and playoff wins and they will come. It only increases his value as a quarterback later on. We'll see if it could take a dip if he doesn't stay healthy. But my opinion on the contract is so here's how I look at it. So I thought it was either going to be Lamar first to get the contract, then Hurts. I know Hurts was next line because he was in the Super Bowl, and Howie, he has asked he answered reporters' questions. Yes, Hurts is our quarterback. I didn't see Hurts going anywhere else because Philly is the right spot. But I have to give the man credit, Lamar credit, because first of all, he doesn't have an agent. Let's get that out the way. He got no agent, and everyone's saying, "Oh, he needs an agent." Which in a case where yes, an agent will get you the right money, but to do it by yourself, I'm pretty sure he had a team around him that that his mom and probably some close friends, maybe the NFLPA or NFL that side, but like when I saw the contract, when I saw he got extended, I was very, very happy. Like I said, I wanted to happen before the draft. I think it would be better. I think Lamar. I feel like once football fans notice that Lamar can stay healthy and can produce, I think that maybe not right now. People might not think that he deserves that 260, but I feel if he stays healthy, like Joshua said, he produces. I think that fans will be okay. Yeah, he deserves that money, or he deserves even more than that. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. This time will tell. We got new receivers, new receiving room, new coordinator that can unlock a lot of different players' abilities. You got to give. So now it's Burrow, Herbert next, Lawrence after his contract. So now I'm curious to see what Burrow's gonna get after him, and then Herbert because they're the next young bloods to get it. So after Lamar, so I'm excited that he's locked up for 5 years with us. He kind of shut up all the naysayers. He kind of said in the video, "Hey, he said, she said, I'm gonna be here in the next 5 years." Ravens flock.
Wouldn't say he's shut up naysayers yet.
I'm saying just the people who talk about the contract numbers and all that, and saying he's going somewhere else.
I'm saying he's got to live up to it, because if he doesn't, the naysayers.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what Joshua said. It's time for him to stay healthy and produce. And I think that, we've seen him produce. We've seen him. He can produce. So it's not like. Obviously he has an MVP to his name. He 35 and 17 as a starter, or 45 and 16 as a starter. So we know he can produce. It's about staying healthy, getting his accuracy better as a passer, and seeing how deep he can grow in the playoffs. And like you said on my show, Kyle, it's about playoff wins and maybe Super Bowl appearance or AFC Conference Championship first, and then Super Bowl. So. And the Ravens, I know other teams are like Saints and Patriots are not done in free agency, so a lot of things can shake up. A lot of he doesn't have any more excuses. That's he has his money, he has the weapons, Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham and still Andrews and Dobbins coming back. So,
Joshua brings up a good question.
I wouldn't say Super Bowl bust the first year, but I was in that window, that 5-year window with his contract is definitely. Oh, maybe this year, yeah. I say this year.
He signed a new deal. The pressure starts day one this year. There's no waiting around anymore. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust this year. I will agree with that, but you got to win a playoff game.
Is that? Oh yeah, it's definitely
that's a
definitely,
definite. You also need to play into the second half of the season.
And I'm curious to see like what the incentives are. Like, hey, there's probably some. I don't know if they broke that down. The incentives, like, hey, you got to play a certain amount of games, get this amount of money, like, or maybe does he have that in his contract? I'm pretty sure he does. Like, you got to do this amount of playoff games to get this amount of money, and then
it's probably more related to games played. I'll see if I could find anything while we continue on the podcast.
Yeah. I was thinking like incentives with a contract like that might be Pro Bowl. You might get something here. You feel like top 3 in MVP. Maybe you get something. I think games played, he's probably beyond that at this point, but maybe they work that in there. I don't know. But like I said, for Joshua's question, I think playoff win, definite. I think past 2 years, he missed games late in the season that were definitely necessary. That can no longer happen. Unless it's like, of course, a serious injury, you can't necessarily account for that. But, he has to be there. He's going to have to be a leader on the team, especially with guys like Calais Campbell moving on. Now Lamar is looked at as the leader of the Ravens. At least he should be. As Jory said, no more excuses. Completely agree with that as well. So if it doesn't pan out this year, or if they miss the playoffs or something like that, we can't hear the whole, the Ravens aren't building around Lamar. The Ravens aren't doing this for Lamar. You make it that kind of money, whoever they put there for you, make it work.
You got to deliver.
Yes. So Jory also says they got to get to at least to the championship game.
Yep, and I think that's fair. Like in the first couple years, the first 2 years,
I'd say
they need to be into the AFC Championship game for this to be viewed as a success. Really quick, also, I really like how Philadelphia handled their quarterback situation, where the first year, Hurts, where he started, it didn't look very good, but there was a little bit of promise. They retooled the team, and right away, when the first chance for him to make his money, Eagles said, he's our dude. There was no doubt that Hurts had full support, and that's how you have to treat your quarterbacks. If you think if that's a quarterback you're going to have moving forward, especially for a young one, you can't just kick the can of paying them down the line, because what ends up happening is they're just going to cost more money. Look at Dak Prescott with the Cowboys, and look at Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. If they had been paid earlier when they were first eligible, they're on a much, much cheaper deal, and the teams are looking at it like, man, we could have been paying this dude pennies in comparison to this. So that's where I think the Eagles definitely operated more intelligently. And I think also for Lamar Jackson, for his injury status or injury history, I think having this guaranteed money, this generational wealth, like super generational wealth, could maybe have a different outcome on how he plays. I think that if he had his guaranteed money this past season, he would have played in those 2 games. He would have said, you know what? If I get hurt, I have enough money where I'm going to be fine, like super, super fine. I have my money. I'm not going to risk it. But he didn't have his money. He didn't want to risk it. And I think that was probably a good decision, because you don't want to turn into an RG3 where you come back too early, you get hurt, and your career's done, and you left millions on the table by not just being a little bit more careful with your knee. So I think going forward, when we're in November and December, Lamar gets a little dinged up, as every quarterback, every player does. He'll probably play through some of his injuries because he's got that bag now.
Yeah, like I said on my show earlier, I think that, because you can write a whole book on this Ravens saga, like in the offseason, because they slapped the franchise tag on the non-exclusive, the $32 million, and then he said that he put in a trade request. But he sent it like March 2nd, and then he sent the tweet out, like, kind of like when Harbaugh was doing at the owner meetings, like right at the time they're on Harbaugh, and then like everyone thought that, like, oh my God, is Lamar really like leaving the team? Like, but I think it was just like him kind of pushing the needle through this. I mean, I don't sew, but kind of pushing the needle through the to the pushing the needle through the
Jordan saw me and he started choking up. He's like, "Dang!"
God damn!
I love
Great time for
how
Ted to come in.
Through
you're going
the,
for the analogy, and before
right.
you even try, it's like, I don't sew.
I was like, oh,
But then
Dylan,
he kept
Reed.
with it. So I was
Threading
just
the
like,
needle.
Dylan, can you leave for a minute, bro? No, it's like, man.
Sorry,
no. Put the needle through like the thread. You know what I'm saying? There you
Yeah,
go.
threading the needle. Yep.
Thread the
Yes.
needle. And it kind of like pushed the Ravens to trying to get the deal done. Now I know I did not know that it was gonna go through before like draft day. I thought it was gonna happen either maybe after the draft, but I'm pretty sure the Ravens wanted to lock up the quarterback. So people, because like you said, I think after the draft, right, teams can kind of put in trade offers and trade sheets, and then save that pick for next year or whatever after the draft. So yeah, I think that was just like kind of like not him hating Baltimore, or it was just him like pushing the needle through the thread and like, hey, just kind of like getting the ball rolling on the contract. I think once they got OBJ, that was kind of like the stamp of approval for Lamar. I know they wanted D-Hop too, but D-Hop apparently staying in Arizona. I don't know why. But
I know, bro. I would not want to go back if I had to pay for my own meals.
what are you talking about, D-Hop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cardinals are cheap. Hey, but you know what would have avoided all this drama with like the tweets and all that stuff
Just to
and
get the
the
deal
going
done.
back and forth is Lamar having an agent. That's what an agent is supposed to do, is deal with
Yeah,
those things
but-
and get the right information
But doesn't
to
the
the
agent-
Ravens,
but
and
doesn't
then
the-
give Lamar the information back and kind of not let Lamar get the hurt feelings when he's hearing all the negativity directly from the owner, the GM, and the coach. That's
Right, I
agent's
get that.
job.
And I rather get the deal done. I said earlier, like I said, I rather get the deal done like after his MVP season. I get that. As a Ravens fan, I wanted to get the deal done early, but hey, it's over. We got the deal done, and like Joshua and Joey said, it's like he gets to stay healthy, and I mean the talent's there. Produce. We know he can produce as a quarterback. With the new weapons and stuff, and like I said, I'd rather him get the deal done now so he can get into the building. Owns Mills, Maryland. That's where the transfer is. Get with the coach, the coordinator. Because football is about chemistry with a quarterback. Got to know your wide receivers. How they catch balls, how they run routes. OBJ is a new target for the Ravens. So get used to Tom Munkin and him. And I mean, I'd rather have him in the building now than week one or late last training camp of so I'd rather have the deal done now rather than later. So
Okay. Well, okay. So
and like Jake said, it's a generational kind of money, man. So it's for him, his family. And the thing is, he doesn't have any endorsements. I know he has Oakley, but now that's where an agent comes in or a manager comes in. The Nike deals, the shoe
They're
deals.
good at that stuff. The agents, that's what
But
they're
he
paid
is talking
for.
about Oakley, I think. So that's one endorsement. Which is, I mean, this is a Baltimore friendly.
something. Okay.
I might give me a pair of Lamar Jackson Oakleys, man.
I'm surprised you don't have 6 or 7 of them by now. So
You call yourself a fan. Get out of here.
Literally wearing
Like,
a pair.
I was
You
wearing
should have
one.
been wearing them at the start of the show to gloat that you got your boy side. Come on, Jordan.
Oh man, they're expensive. They're expensive.
Opportunity.
I believe it.
but,
$500 a pair, man.
I mean, tell Lamar give you a loan. Y'all tight. So what's the problem? Now, I do think Burrow and guys like that, they will get signed next. I don't think any of those quarterbacks will go through what Lamar went through at Baltimore, because another thing that this process kind of seems like, Lamar didn't technically have an agent, but he should thank Jalen Hurts' agent. And you can almost see it, because the fact that Lamar's getting $5 million more guaranteed over 5 years means they saw Hurts deal and was like, well, we'll just up it by $1 million each year, $5 million more guaranteed. Here you go. So they literally use Hurts' contract as the barometer for how they approach Lamar. And then at that point, it's going to be either Lamar goes yes, or he says no and continues shopping himself around. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if him not having the agent is something that we're going to start seeing, because Jalen Hurts thing happened so quickly because of the agent that he has around him. And Anthony Price, here he is, the man, just here to troll. Hey, I mean, yeah, we're cool with that.
Oh shit!
But I know Joshua asked a couple of questions, which I'll get to, but I do want to get Dylan here on this one.
Yeah,
So
that's
Dylan,
a couple good questions we can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Dylan, I was just gonna ask you, do you think the Hurts deal was in any connection to Lamar getting his money, or do you think they're just two separate?
No, I don't think. I think the only thing the Hurts deal was used for was just a blueprint for the contract. I don't think Hurts getting his money really kind of messed with anything, and I don't even think someone like Joe Burrow getting his money messed with anything. I think Lamar was just worried about getting what was his, just exactly how Jalen Hurts worded it when he got his money. He was like, he's a great dude. I hope he gets what's his. Like, these guys at the end of the day just want to get what they're worth. I know some people do care about being the highest paid if they think they're the highest paid. I don't think that was the case with Lamar. I don't think Lamar ever came out and said, I deserve to be paid like the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I don't think that ever came out of his mouth once. It just, he wanted what he wanted and he got what he wanted, obviously. I think the Hurts deal, like I said, was just a blueprint. When the deal was done, I said, I think what happened was, it's getting to be the time of the draft. Lamar Jackson really doesn't have a future. He doesn't know what's going on. The Ravens don't know what they're going to really be doing at this draft. I think both sides got desperate. They looked at a deal. They looked at the Jalen Hurts contract, like I said, like at a blueprint, and they were like, this is a good starting point. Maybe they were even like, would you want something like that? Lamar was like, bump it up a little bit just so the numbers are different. And like the deal got done.
I wonder, like, remember on my show, Kyle, a long time ago, when I asked, like, if you were Harbaugh or EDC, and like I was Lamar, like kind of like a situation, and like I wonder what that conversation was, kind of closed doors. Like, I want these receivers. Like, I think it was just about the money, to be honest. Like what Lamar wanted, was it just like the number of years? Was it? I mean, it was 5 years.
Money.
I feel like Lamar walked in and said, I want more than Watson. The Ravens looked at him and said, not a chance. So they sat around.
Even the Eagles didn't give Hurts that kind of.
No, because
that's why the Hurts deal
is worse.
Yeah, Harbaugh and them looked at that, was like,
terrible.
Now we got Lamar, we want him. Because if Hurts isn't going to get anything close to what Watson got, that works in our favor. So they went to Lamar and was like, here's $5 million more guaranteed. What do you want to do? Lamar signed it, and now here we are with both sides looking like it's a happy marriage and everything for the next 5 years they're going to go through. But I feel like if the Hurts deal didn't happen, we would still be sitting here wondering what's going on with Lamar.
When you word it like that, I do kind of like how that's worded, in a sense that, like, the Ravens saw that Jalen Hurts didn't get a fully guaranteed contract and took a big breath and were like,
yes,
okay, it's realistic to tell Lamar, hey, you're not getting that. He just went to a Super Bowl. He didn't get that. And it's like, it just kind of made it seem like, maybe it just settled on Lamar's mind. And maybe he was like, maybe that is a lofty goal that I won't achieve. But he thought maybe I should still be paid more than him. I don't know what he thought at the end of the day. It really wasn't much more money, like anything. I think it was just because Lamar was like, well, put like the little bit amount on, so it words that I'm the highest, like the most richest, or however they worded it as. And understandable. But other than that, I think, when you word it like that, I could slightly see it being like, they saw that Hurts didn't get that fully guaranteed contract or anything near that. And we're like, okay, like, let's come back at this realistically, and both sides were able to get a deal done.
Yeah, and I hate Browns fans because they're like, oh, so what? I mean, I got the Watson. They're so delusional, Browns fans.
Now, the Cleveland Browns front office completely screwed.
No, I'm saying like Brown fan, the fan base.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm a Browns fan and I have Deshaun Watson, if Deshaun Watson turns into Houston Texans Watson, that's the best quarterback they would have seen in I don't know how many years.
The whole time they've been this new iteration of a Cleveland Browns.
If I'm a Browns fan, that's what I'm holding out hope for. So I'm not mad at them if excited about Watson because that's
How many years was that contract? Like 5 years? Like,
Mhm.
so it's
Yep.
like-
5 years.
oh man.
So let me get to.
So if you guys were Hurts, right, and y'all got your money, like I'm like, so Dylan, Jake, Kyle, you're all Hurts right now, like, and you got the contract, and then you saw Lamar get his contract. Do you think you'd be kind of mad that Lamar got
No,
more than you? Know, I was in the playoffs.
nope.
These kind of things are a
Super Bowl.
technicality when you're looking at, the guaranteed money when it's what is it, 180 to 185, like $5 million with difference. Like you're not gonna, as awful as it is to say, like you're not gonna really notice $5 million over 5 years when you're making 180 or 185. You're just not going to. And generally, what I've noticed from athletes in general, they want to see other dudes get paid. Like, sure, they may want to be the highest paid player, but they know it's that title is very temporary, and Lamar's not going to hold that title for very long. They want to see players get paid because all it means is that the more other people get paid, the more they're going to get paid on their next contract.
So to get back to Joshua's question from earlier, is there more pressure on the Jets or the Ravens right now?
As far as what, Super Bowl or just winning
Just
games?
performance.
Yes, performance. Yes.
That's a very good question, actually.
I think I'll go first. To me, I think it's the Jets. It's a no-brainer.
Yes.
You gave up a pretty good amount of capital for an aging quarterback who played pretty poorly last season. It was his worst year since his rookie year. You got like 2 years to really make this work with this really loaded defense,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to work, because if it doesn't work, you gave up all this capital and you're going to have it for 2 years. For the Ravens, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on them to win, but there's lots of pressure on every team to win that pays their quarterback. With Lamar, they have 5 years to figure this out. For the Jets, they have 2, and the quarterback's been declining. He doesn't seem like he's the kind of quarterback, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers, that takes care of his body like Tom Brady does. Like, it's so weird how our minds have changed when you hear a quarterback that's 38, 39, 40. We see Tom Brady. We saw Drew Brees for a little bit there too, perform pretty well when they got older. But that's a huge, huge outlier as far as what they're able to do. Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem to be the guy that likes to take care of his body. He'd much rather just take a bunch of drugs and sit in a dark cave for a week. Like, he's not taking care of himself. And so to expect him to go back to prime Aaron Rodgers, I just don't see it. I don't see him doing that. And the Jets are hoping he's going to be that. And I think they're going to be a 9 or 10 win team. And this team is definitely built to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. And I just don't think it's going to happen. So for me, it's the Jets.
For me, it's like a two-part answer. For me, I think it's a little bit of pressure on the Ravens. I mean, obviously the 5-year deal is there's a bigger window as far as time. But as far as like the conference, I mean, well, Ravens don't have to deal with the Bengals. I mean, the Browns with Watson. I think the division they put more pressure on the Ravens because Ravens they came in second last year, and then Bengals came in 1. And we only seen half the season of Watson. But now, like in the Jets division, you have the Bills. You got to worry about your Patriots. I mean, they're probably gonna be third.
They trying to throw them in there like
No, that's just in the division. So
I'm making noise this year. Christian Gonzalez, let's go.
But I think it's true. The Jets have more pressure because, just like Jory said, there's so uncertainty as far as obviously Aaron Rodgers is a bigger upgrade than Zach Wilson, obviously at that position. Like I said earlier, but I mean, I'm not trying to be a homer when I say the Jets because it's true. The Jets. I mean, the Packers was the vice versa, where they so much picks in the draft. They gave so much, and then Packers have Jordan Love to worry about for Packers. But I think that, I think the pressure on Aaron because of there's so much expectation that Jets haven't really won anything in a couple of years, and a lot of years actually, and now they have a good quarterback in town. Yeah, it's Jets fan, and he's in that fan base. I feel like he'll deal with the fan base kind of fairly nice, but You don't
He's
think
gonna
so?
get eaten alive.
You
in
think he's
New
gonna
York.
be
New York
fold?
fans are gonna be so sick of him by like week 4. They're
Oh,
gonna be
Anthony,
tired
come
of the
on,
whole.
come on, Anthony, don't do that, man. Don't do that.
I mean, Anthony
I don't know
literally
if he's
told us
trolling, but
he was here to troll. So
I don't know, man. I don't
But
know
I
if
mean,
that's trolling.
is he
he
lying? though?
he said
I
he's here to
mean,
troll. Well, I will say,
Hey,
Big Mo's showing up.
if you were a Jets GM, right? Who you taking, Lamar or Jets, or Lamar or Aaron, Anthony, for right now? Like, come on, be for real.
I think that kind of leads into my answer to this question.
I don't let
because-
Anthony answer that because he
Oh, yeah.
called me.
Well, since you throw that out there,
Don't start.
I think the pressure's on the Jets because you're dealing with New York. When
Right?
a
Yeah.
name like Aaron Rodgers enters the New York sports scene, New York's automatically going to want results because to New York, it's
Win
like
now.
we have to win. You know, the most miserable Jets fan had to sit there for 20 years and watch Brady and the Patriots dominate while they had a couple of years with Mark Sanchez, but it's Mark
He
Sanchez.
ran to the kicker, man, or ran to his lineman. So.
Look,
Yeah.
we could talk this real quick. The best quarterbacks in Jets history is Joe Namath. He played in the 60s, and Ken O'Brien, who played in the 90s. And all Jets fans, when they think of Ken O'Brien, you know what they think? God damn, we could have had Dan Marino. Why didn't we take Dan Marino? That's their quarterback history. And after that, it's what, Vinny Testaverde? Like,
What about
Chad Pennington?
Then not Minka Fitzpatrick. I mean,
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick played everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah, like we're talking
Twice.
that low of like quarterback talent over a team that's been around since the early 60s, a team that really hasn't had a star quarterback since Joe Namath, a team that hasn't really they haven't won a playoff game in this past decade. Like their last playoff win was in the 2009 season. Like there's so much pressure in the New York media for them to win because they haven't had anything even close to this since the 60s. So of course the pressure is going to be on the Jets. Not to say there's not pressure on the Ravens, but for me it's the Jets easy.
Anthony, man. I mean, right? So what are you saying? Like Lamar can't win games? He's a 45-16 as a quarterback, as a
What's his
starter.
playoff record?
Yeah. It's
I mean,
top
what has
playoffs.
Aaron done in the playoffs recently?
He won a Super Bowl. I mean,
He
he's
has a
won a
Super
Super
Bowl,
Bowl
yes.
before. He's won a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay.
Got a little shiny.
Look,
But,
no one's
in
saying that
recent
Aaron
years,
Rodgers is like the super clutch.
Trust me, yes.
playoff
I go
quarterback.
You can still win now with Lamar Jackson, though. Like,
Sure.
As much as you can win now with Aaron Rodgers too.
but do you want young flexibility? in
Except for
Lamar,
right
or-
now, like if
I
we're
don't
doing it
think-
for one season, I'd probably rely on Aaron Rodgers to stay healthy for that season.
I don't think any of us would trade the quarterback situation over a 5-year
I mean,
period
Jets were
between the
thinking about
Ravens and the
trading for
Jets.
Lamar, and they didn't get him. So
That's not what
But
we're doing.
but this is the case. Aaron Rodgers is on like a 2-year deal, where Lamar is on a 5.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much more pressure on the Jets. than there is
I
the
agree. There's
Ravens.
much more pressure on Jim.
But I think what we're trying to say is just because there's more pressure on the Jets, we're not trying to knock Lamar. We're
Didn't
not
he have
trying
like
to
a
knock
foot
on Lamar.
injury or
at
something
all.
like that? Aaron Rodgers, like that kept him sidelined or whatever. Like a like.
He had a hand injury. He had a
I
hand
think the
injury
foot
last year, but
thing
he
was
played
a
through it.
couple of years ago. Last year was the thumb.
Yep.
Yeah.
He plays through his injuries though.
Yeah.
So Josh had another question. Harbaugh on the hot seat.
So-
I mean, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
I'll put it this way. You would think with their performance and with people generally view the Baltimore Ravens franchise, their front office, as one of the more stable organizations in football. You see the Ravens, you're like, that's a good ran organization. There's a few of them like the Patriots, the Steelers, teams like that.
Seahawks.
The Seahawks, you could do. The Saints had a good run for a little bit. I'll give my Saints a little rub there. But they haven't really performed all that well. Like they've kind of been underwhelming for a while, but I think Harbaugh's so connected with this team and so connected with the GM and the owner and the front office that he's not going to be on the hot seat. I don't see it. You could potentially see it. I could see this leading like a first take on like a Tuesday in June on ESPN where they're trying to create content, but I'd be shocked. There'd be about 20 teams that would fire their coach and take Harbaugh if he was fired. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, the only thing that I could think would happen is if they just massively just blow it this year, like 3-4 win. And even then, he would still be very like I don't think they would do it. They would give him a chance, just like, bad scheme, offensive coordinator did stuff we didn't like, something, defensive coordinator, who knows? But or even injuries. But with that being said, if that happened twice in a row, that's when you would get to be maybe they should think about somewhere else. But
Yep.
I'm not sure the Ravens are in a range of only winning 3-4 games for 2 years in a row, right?
No.
Yeah,
I'll put it this way before Jordan, I'll let you get your piece out. It's the same way for the New Orleans Saints with Sean Payton. They were a terrible franchise up until they got Drew Brees and Sean Payton. He had those back-to-back 7 to 9 seasons, and everyone's looking like, man, are they wasting Drew Brees' prime? What's going on here? But there was never a doubt that Sean Payton was going to get fired because he was their guy. Just like, the Cypher said, the Harbaugh's their guy. Sean Payton was the guy. I don't think he's going to get fired. Even if they win 4 games, there's going to be justifiable reasons, like Lamar blows out his knee. Heaven forbid he does that. It's something that'd be catastrophic that would do that, and it wouldn't be on the coaching staff per se.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the only reason he would be on the hot seat if he just wasn't a winning coach. I mean, he's still a winning coach. I mean, yes, he makes dumb plays something here and there, but I feel like half of that was Harbaugh and half of that was Roman. More on Harbaugh, but part of that on Roman, because Roman had that one dumbass play when he had I think it was the same game that Lamar got hurt against the Broncos, and he was like a flea flicker from Prochet. Like, what the hell kind of play is that? And he picks it off. Maybe Harbaugh had a say in that play, but yeah, I mean, he's like I'm not sure Mo, I think.
Yeah,
is that Maurice?
That's Mo on the network.
The Lakers fan? Okay.
Yeah.
Lakers fan. Awesome. But I was gonna say that, Harbaugh, that's our guy, man. I mean, I don't think that, like Jake said, maybe it'll be or I think Dylan said that too, like Monk and see how we do, how they do 1 year. I think that Monk can change kind of like the philosophy on offense. Maybe not drastically off the start, but once they get that chemistry. But yeah, Harbaugh's, I mean, he was kind of on the hot seat a little bit, but I feel like once they got Lamar deal done and they got Monken in the building, I think that that kind of settled down. Because everyone didn't want Harbaugh out, they wanted Roman out the building. More Roman, so that was kind of like that.
Yep, that's a good point there. Roman was definitely wanted out, and now that he's gone,
and he is out of the job.
Hopefully the offense can improve, and we can have the Ravens be a more
he's so bad,
unpredictable offense.
What did he want to do? High school coaching or college coaching, and they didn't want him. So
I didn't even follow that stuff. I don't care.
Breaking news: Saints pick up Roman.
Wouldn't be all that. The coaching staff for the Saints isn't great. I'm not gonna. I don't want to talk about it because it's so awful.
So I think one way Harbaugh would get on the hot seat. Oh, Joshua says he has to dip. Appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning in, Josh.
Tuning in, Josh. Catch it when you can after, and make sure you like it and all that. But make sure you're here next week. I will say the only way Harbaugh probably gets on the hot seat is if Lamar has an issue with him. You give Lamar this kind of money, he now calls the shots, kind of.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
If he ever went to the front office and was like, I can't play for this guy, I guarantee you they'll choose Lamar over Harbaugh, and Harbaugh would be gone. So unless that happens, I think Harbaugh is pretty much safe.
Yeah, I'm not let Harbaugh off the hook. There are some plays where, especially on fourth down, there's some plays where he kind of screws up, and instead of maybe going for it, he should kick it. Put some points on the board. The small things. So I mean,
there was definitely some late. You watched last season. I don't have all the stats or the facts. But looking back, there were so many moments last season where the late game execution, especially early in the season for the Ravens, was definitely subpar.
There was games where we were up big and we just lost. And that's the defense kind of that's kind of the players and personnel.
But there was also a lot of questionable coaching decisions as far as the plays that you run. That, the situation where the Ravens were okay, the only thing you can't do is throw an interception. Even if you take a sack, it's okay. If you take a fumble, even it won't be bad. And then Lamar would throw a pick six. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm just kind of tracing back. And those things come down to coaching and play calling. And so, yeah, Jory's absolutely right where I think he kind of should be, because I feel like for a while there, the Ravens have kind of underperformed, especially in the playoffs. But now they have their guy. They're set. They know what they're going to be, and they have a new OC, and they're kind of out of excuses of before it'd be so easy. Like, oh, well, Roman, this offensive coordinator, he sucks. That's why we're so bad. That's why we're underperforming. Now all the chips are on the table, and there is pressure on the Ravens. It's just, like we said, not as much as with the Jets.
I think there's pressure more on, obviously, on the Jets, but I think for the Ravens, there's more pressure on the defense. Like Kyle always says, right? Like, teams can score on the Ravens. So what pieces can we add in the free agency still that, can solidify that cornerback outside of Marlon Humphrey and like Marcus Williams? And because that game where we were all big on Miami, big on Buffalo, it wasn't really Lamar's fault. It was the defensive side of the ball too. So but then that was before Roquan Smith got into town. That was like week 5 or week 4, I think. He came in like against the Saints and we destroyed the Saints. So
just have to throw it in there, don't you?
No, but yeah, that was all before Roquan came into town. But I'm just saying that like it's more on the defense too, because defense not on the hook either. Because the cornerbacks, Chuck Clark's on the Jets.
That's on the offense. Offense did nothing in the second half. There's only so much you can ask the defense to do if they're out there constantly.
Yep.
If the offense has to help the defense out, whether it's just having one touchdown drive or a really long field goal drive, give the defense a chance to recoup themselves. If you're going 3 and out, what's the defense supposed to do?
Oh yeah, I know, but sometimes defense wins games if you're a good defense.
Yeah, but if you can put up 30 in the first half, I'm gonna need you to do more than like a field goal in the second half. Give me the same offense from the first half. Don't take your foot off the. That's the main thing I've had with Harbaugh. It's like
I think
the Ravens are like the worst team to have a lead because they'd find a way to give it up somehow. They'd get ultra conservative offensively, and then defensively they'd get exposed. Whether it was
cornerback. And some of that was Kyle Hamilton and Kyle Hamilton because he was young, but now maybe he has a whole offseason to get polished. So it's all about getting better on it's all about forgetting about the last year and we're focused on this year. You know what I'm saying? New goals, new team, new players.
So, should we get on to the draft now?
Yes.
I didn't know this was a Baltimore Ravens podcast. Stop talking about the Baltimore Ravens. I know this is Jordan's big day, but come on.
Also, Kyle, I want to say last draft we joked around about the Patriots getting Malik Cunningham, and then they did as an undrafted free agent. And I wanted to say congratulations, you added some color into your QB room.
Oh,
brought a brother in the room.
That made me happy.
Brother in the room.
That gave me a good laugh.
I saw that the other day, and I was like, Kyle put in a call.
Are they gonna keep? Are they gonna keep him in the QB room? Like, are they gonna see what he does?
They usually
happens in
He
camp.
said he'll play a different position. I think
Cam Newton was black. He's at the door. He's been at the door. So
well, it's just because Cam Newton's
Cam Newton's delusional too. That whole thing with the little workout and talking about, I'm better than. No, you're not, buddy. If you were, you'd be in the league. You've been out of the league a couple of years because your accuracy never got better. You're basically just a running back at this point back there, and you're a big target. We saw in the Super Bowl, he took a couple of hits. He cowered away from that fumble, and that was like the end of Cam Newton. That's what I always think about with Cam Newton. When he didn't go for that fumble in the Super Bowl, that was the beginning of the end for him.
I agree.
So, but yeah, Jake, you said we're going to go to the draft. I do have questions about the draft.
Let's do it.
So, first question. Which first-round pick did you like? Which one had you scratching your head? Not your team's pick.
Okay.
So let's start with Dylan on this one.
Okay, so pick that I liked that isn't my team's pick. Let me think. Looking
first
down
round
the
or
list
just
real
the whole
quick.
draft there,
I mean, I had first round. If you wanted to expand,
I'll stick to the first round for now. I guess I'll say the pick that I really like. Man, that's rough. I'm gonna say Anthony Richardson to the Colts. I feel like that was their pick for quarterback. It kind of fits what the Colts needed in just a young quarterback with tremendous upside. Don't bring in the veteran. Don't bring in the one with questions. Bring in the dude that you can try and develop, man. It turns out they're probably going to start him right away, which I'm open for. Just throw him in there. I think Anthony Richardson is a nice fit for the Colts. I think, yeah, I mean, Bijan Robinson. I like Bijan Robinson a lot to the Falcons. I feel like he's just going to expand that offense more. Now, the Falcons have spent 3 top 10 picks in the last 3 years, all on offensive skill players. So, like, we hope Desmond Ridder is it, because you definitely have the weapons to do it now. Tyler Algier is really great as well, too. And then I think Jalen Carter to the Eagles. A lot of people were upset about him, Seattle skipping out on him, but it is what it is. I think, Jalen Carter, you're giving him people that he's used to, playing with, and, Nolan Smith, Jalen Davis, just basically the whole Georgia national championship defense. Overall, I think it's just it's good. You put him in a great situation in a position of need. It was a great pick by the Eagles. And then a pick that had me scratching my head, I think we can all think Jahmyr Gibbs was a little bit of a questionable pick, especially when you had pick 6 and could have just stayed and got Bijan Robinson if you really wanted a running back that bad. I think also the Lions, again, picking Jack Campbell at pick 18 was also
stealing my
scratching.
stuff, Dylan.
And yeah,
it was terrible.
Just the Lions. The Lions had a horrible first day, but ended up picking it up on the second day. So it is what it is. And then Will McDonald to Iowa State, a good defensive end, outside linebacker. I don't know what you want to place him as. Didn't think he was worth the top 15 pick. It kind of gave me Jermaine Johnson vibes, where it's like, what are you scouting for edges? Because they're not as good. These ones are not as good as you think they are. You had really good options on the board and positions of need. I think the Steelers taking Broderick Jones really kind of hurt the Jets in that sense. That kind of the whole run on offensive tackles were gone at that point, including Darnell Wright, and I don't think they could either get a trade or didn't believe in Anton Harrison enough to want to get an offensive tackle, and it kind of messed up their plans. And then Nolan Smith, obviously, just get the whole Georgia defense there.
Okay. And my Patriots screw the Jets by letting the Steelers trade in front of the Jets. So, made me happy.
Bill Belichick was like, I don't care you got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's going to get sacked.
Judon's going to be in his face. Yeah, Jake. What picks did you like? What had you scratching your head?
Yeah, so one pick that I really liked, and this has also to do with the trade. I really like what the Cardinals did with the first round. They got Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. I think he's a fantastic offensive tackle. They really need help on the offensive line. And as part of moving down, they got a first-round draft pick from the Texans, and that's probably going to be a top 5 pick next year, even though they did make some, Houston did a pretty good job with securing their future. But that first-round draft pick next year is going to be gold. So I definitely like what Arizona did there. Other picks that I really liked. I mean, it hurt to see Nolan Smith be on the board when the Saints had a chance to draft him. That was a great steal for Philly. I understand why the Saints didn't do it. I've come to accept it. I'm happy with who they got. But seeing him available at 29 and just pass him on by definitely hurt. I think Philly definitely won the first round. And then the other one that I really liked, I'm just looking here to make sure I don't miss it, was the Bills. Dalton Kincaid I thought was a fantastic pickup. They get a good young tight end. He's a fantastic tight end. It's going to give the offense a little bit more depth, so not just focusing on Diggs rather. And then, with a little error there in what I was saying, Gibbs with the Lions first round was just head scratching, absolutely head scratching. You could have gotten so many good players at 6. Like you said, Dylan, Bijan was there, Jalen Carter was there. I thought for sure they're going to get Christian Gonzalez because they really needed help at corner, and I thought he was going to be a perfect fit there. So the Detroit Lions, I really didn't like what they did in the first round. Really like what they did going forward. I really like Hendon Hooker for the Detroit Lions. I thought that was a great addition. And I don't love what the Green Bay Packers did. I get that Van Noy's he's a good player, but how many years in a row have the Packers drafted a defensive player outside of Jordan Love? It's like 15 years or something like that. And clearly something's missing. something's not working. One of my best friends is a huge Packers fan, and I was like, man, you need to get a receiver, you need to get a tight end in the first round. And his response was, well, the Packers always draft defense. It's like, well, and look what you've got. Look what's going on here. You need to give Love as many weapons.
They're
going to
keep drafting defense until their defense is good, and then they draft defense no more.
That's like, it's insanity what they're doing here. I thought for sure they should have gotten after Kincaid. I thought a great pass catching tight end can be the best friend for a young quarterback, an easy target. The Ohio State wide receiver would have been great. I felt like you can get good depth at defensive positions in this draft and give some weapons so you can make sure Jordan Love's going to be successful, because if he's not, this Packers team is going to be like a 4-win team. But really, as far as the picks, the Lions were just head scratchers in the first round. Absolutely.
Okay. Jordan, same thing.
So a good pick that wasn't my team was probably like I said earlier, like the CJ Stroud and the Will Anderson, not knowing that they're gonna technically go back into the draft and get Will Anderson, but they got the quarterback of their future, CJ Stroud, and they got talking about not generational yet, but could be generational talent in on the defensive side of the ball. Will Anderson from Alabama, not terrible. What a terrific pick. Picks. For that team. And I like what Texas are doing in Houston with DeMeco Ryan and what they're putting together. And the pick that kind of scratched my head was the Bengals. Their first pick was Miles Murphy. And I'm surprised they didn't get like a Joey Porter Jr. since Jesse Bates is on the Falcons now, and they need, when you go up against a team like the Ravens or Steelers, teams who can pass the ball down the field, and or the Bills or Patriots, like you need cornerbacks to be out there. So, there was a lot of cornerbacks on the board because they had they actually they're 28th pick actually. So I think Porter was gone by the time, but
Porter was on the Porter was available.
Porter was available.
Porter was the first pick in the second round.
Oh wow! So yeah, they could have got Porter. They could have got they got Jordan Battle. They got.
No, that's a great point, Jordan. Where you look at a lot of what Cincinnati's weaknesses have been. Is the secondary. How many Eli Apple memes are we going to see of him just being burnt toast? Like, it's just that they could have used a lot of help at secondary, and Joey Porter Jr. was available. And look, the guy that they got, he's a good player, but there's definitely there's a definite bigger need in the secondary for sure. So that's a good point.
And what was the other one? He said a good pick, and then the one head scratcher. And what was the third one?
That was it.
So it's kind of like the one that kind of like, oh man, I'm kind of like, a sigh of relief for me because but they can still get a cornerback, in free agency, but yeah.
You still got to be worried about Joey Porter Jr. He's on the Steelers.
Yeah, but they could have got. I would have been more scared about if he went to the Bengals.
He's going to still haunt you.
Steelers had a really good draft.
They did. I agree with that. There's two ways to go about pass defense anyway. You can either put a lot of pressure on the quarterback in the front end with your D line, or solidify the back end and force the quarterback to hold the ball longer than he wants to. So if the Bengals feel like Miles Murphy is the type of guy who's going to terrorize quarterbacks for the next 4 or 5 years, I have no problem with that. I agree with you. With the Bates move to the Falcons, I thought they would go secondary, but maybe Murphy, who not too long ago, Miles Murphy was seen as like a top 10 guy in this draft. And maybe they just couldn't pass on him seeing him there. So, I see what you're saying about the Bengals. Maybe that was a little bit of a questionable move. But before we go on, I'll say, I think you hit on it. The Jalen Carter move to Philly made way too much sense. I love that pick. And then conversely, I like Bijan Robinson, the player. I don't know if I like the fit with the Falcons. I thought the Falcons should have taken Carter because UGA guy, you put him on the Falcons, it's like a match made in heaven. Plus, Grady Jarrett's getting older. They brought in Calais Campbell. He's older. Why not put a young guy like Jalen Carter who would get to learn from those two guys who, I mean, I probably couldn't pick two better guys to learn from as a young guy coming in with, the questions about Jalen Carter off the field, as well as his performance at his pro day looking out of shape. I mean, Calais Campbell is a pro's pro. Like, he could have showed him the ropes, and they probably would have benefited from that. So hopefully Bijan Robinson turns into, I don't know, like a 1,500 yard guy or
No.
all-purpose yards.
Nope.
I'm just saying, for that high,
Trade him, and then I'll root for him.
Right. But I'll say for the team that took him as high as they took him, like Bijan Robinson's gonna have to transform that offense. And with Ritter's your quarterback, yes, have a really good running game can take a lot of pressure off of him. I just don't know about the fit right now. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs one, that's an obvious one.
He's tough to be a good quarterback.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. The Jahmyr Gibbs one, Detroit said, look, they thought the Patriots were going to take him, so they jumped ahead and took him. If that's what your intel told you, then live with it.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that hearing the Patriots might have taken Jahmyr Gibbs at 14?
I know. Well, I didn't think it was going to be that high because I know Belichick and O'Brien loved Gibbs, but there was also talk that there was a player the Patriots were kind of targeting for getting back into the first round. I thought that's where Gibbs came into play.
Yep.
But apparently the Patriots really loved Gibbs at 14. And the guy, I guess that would kind of explain the fact that once Gibbs was gone, they were like, well, we could just trade back a couple of spots and we could either take a Gonzalez or one of these wide receivers who weren't taken at that point. So, maybe I should thank the Lions for taking Gibbs because I really love the Gonzalez pick. But, that was interesting.
Yep.
And then
one more thing,
found out the guy who they were going to trade back for was apparently Keon White, who was also in play at 14.
Who you guys ended up getting.
Right. That's how wild this draft was.
Before Jay goes, another player I had that scratched my head was Seahawks when they got what was that running back? Charbonnet. They had Kenneth Walker.
Well,
We have really good running backs on our roster.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker, DJ Dallas. After that, we have no running backs. I don't hate the pick. Hate maybe where we picked him at potentially, but I don't hate the pick. We need running backs. We need depth.
Yep.
Kenneth Walker's very boom/bust.
Yep. And so one thing, we're talking about how the Lions didn't do great on the first day of the draft. Mm-hmm. I don't love their second round pick either. They sitting there, Sam Laporta. Michael Mayer was on the board, and he went one pick later. I don't know why you would take. I get that Laporta is really physical and kind of like an angry player, so it fits what Detroit wants to do. But I feel like they have missed an opportunity there. I feel like Michael Mayer is going to be a much better pass catching tight end.
They did get Brian Branch to find like he's nice.
Yeah.
From the Lions. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after that they did pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just you look at. I love the Hendon Hooker. I think that's a perfect place for him to go.
So
Goff
they got a couple of steals,
Goff's not a guy that seems to have a big ego. So Hooker's gonna be in a really good place for him to learn, to grow. He's got a great offensive coordinator as well in Ben Johnson. So that's a great place for him to go. But the first 3 picks, I'll put it this way: the first 3 picks, they're all players who are gonna be play meaningful minutes, play meaningful snaps. They're gonna play a lot for Detroit. It's just like, man, you could have finagled your draft, got either better players, or if you wanted these guys, traded back and gotten them later in the draft and got more capital for the 4th, 5th, 6th round.
So Anthony, hold on before you go, Dylan. Anthony wants to know, I need answers on why the Packers drafted back-to-back tight ends, and why did the Seahawks pass on Jalen Carter?
Was it back-to-back for the Packers? I thought it was tight end and wide receiver tight end.
So I'm looking at it went tight end, wide receiver, and I'm looking at the 3rd round for so I'll let you speak
that's
to
where they draft the South Dakota State guy.
Yeah, I'll let you speak to the Carter piece there, Dylan, since you're the Seahawks guy, and I'll verify everything on the Packers end.
So I think the reason Seattle passed on Carter is because, one, Devin Witherspoon was easily the best cornerback on the board. And I think draft boards really showed that. I think, if Seattle passed on Witherspoon, the Lions would have not traded out from 6 and would have stayed there and comfortably taken Witherspoon.
Mhm.
I think when you look at Witherspoon, he fits that Seattle mold. When you look at the old Seattle defenses, what was their number one thing? They would basically just punch you in the mouth. They're scrappy. They didn't care. And that's what Devin Witherspoon is. He fits that Seattle mold, and he honestly kind of solidifies that secondary, a very young, good secondary. He complements Tariq Woolen very nicely in the sense that Tariq Woolen is your big speed cornerback. He's going to match up with a lot of those guys who are going to be deep threats against you because he's big, he's fast. That's what he can do. And Devin Witherspoon is the dude you're going to want to take in man coverage. You're going to want to have Devin Witherspoon against some of those craftier route runners more than you want Tariq Woolen, just because of his size, just because of his quickness as well. Witherspoon hits hard. He throws his body at you. Like, he is a rugged player, and he's going to, barring if Jamal Adams gets healthy, both those dudes are going to be just mouthpiece ends, hit you as hard as I can type of guys, and that kind of brings an old school kind of Seattle vibe back on defense. And I think that's why Seattle did pass on Carter, because Pete Carroll loved Devin Witherspoon. It was very quiet, and I think it was quiet for a reason, because he was looked at as CB1 in this class. I'm not sure if anyone would have traded up potentially, but regardless, Seattle thought he fit the mold really well, and I agree. At first, when we made the pick, I had to think about it, and then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, I love this pick. As much as I like Jalen Carter, and I thought he would be nice in more of a position of need for Seattle, Carter had a lot of football questions and a lot of character concerns, just based from, ending of the college football season to when they won the national championship to just now when he was drafted. And I think that was a lot of red flags for Seattle, and Seattle is not necessarily a team that drafts people with character concerns. They want people who are like football minded, and maybe they didn't get that from their interview with Jalen Carter. Things like that happen. I think when they spoke to Devin Witherspoon, they loved him, and kind of fit that Seattle mold, fit that Seattle personality, and it was just too good to pass on, because he wasn't going to be there potentially at 20, and he probably wasn't going to be even there after their pick if they even wanted to think about trading up for him. So it was now or never for Witherspoon.
Yep, I agree, Dylan, with that. But the NFL draft is very different than the NBA draft. The NBA draft, you basically pick best player available. Like, you don't draft for need, because if you draft for need, you're going to pass on elite talent. NFL, you do want to draft for talent, but you need to draft for need, and you need to draft for guys that fit your scheme. And that's why Witherspoon is such a great fit in Seattle. That's why Nolan Smith didn't go to the Saints, because it's not a fit for their need. As great as a player is, you have to address your style for how you play their offense or defense. And Anthony, even though it was tight end, wide receiver, tight end, I'll just speak for the Packers. The tight end room for the Packers was one of the worst in the league. And they needed to get some help. They got some good guys. Musgrave out of Oregon State's really good. I know he had some injuries that kind of ended his season, and the kid at South Dakota State's really good. So you have to just kind of build up through the draft. I like the guys that they got, and it's more of a matter of like, this position is so bad that we have to get some quantity as well as quality in there to beef up the tight end room.
Right.
I will also say their pick at receiver in Jaden Reed was a magnificent pick. I thought he's going to fit that Packers offense well. Well, we think, barring how well Jordan
It depends
Love
what Love
is as a
does.
quarterback. Yeah, yeah, we can't really say that. Like, if this was an Aaron Rodgers led offense, I would say that Jaden Reed pick is like perfect, great after the catch type of guy, good route runner, very speedy. But we don't know how Jordan Love will play. But for now, I think that was a great pick.
Yeah, and I think when, kind of like you guys are saying, Jordan Love being such a young quarterback, so inexperienced, I can't be mad at them going with 2 tight ends. Maybe if they're lucky, one of those tight ends becomes his Mercedes Lewis, or one of these guys that's like their security blanket, and maybe Jaden Reed becomes his favorite wide receiver alongside who's the guy who's
Dobbs, Watson.
Yeah, Dobbs, yeah. So
that's it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm not mad at
No.
how they went about that, because for all the crap that the Green Bay front office took for not necessarily drafting offensive people for Aaron Rodgers, it seemed like once you got past first pick or so, they really tried to hone in on getting Jordan Love some pieces there. So he should have a good place to start. Now, like you guys also said, it's on Jordan Love at this point. Make it work.
Man, Caleb Williams in a Packers jersey, that would be an interesting sight for those fans.
Oh, please no. Please no. I'm so tired of the Packers having all these great quarterbacks. They need to experience quarterback hell for at least 5 years. Come on.
Don't worry. He'll go to the Jets. He'll go to the Jets at some point.
You can't have 30 years of this kind of quarterback play and only have 3 Super Bowl appearances. Come on.
Exactly. But now, I'll give you guys a chance to talk about your team. What do you think about your team's draft? Let's start with Jordan. Talk about the Ravens draft.
Yeah, I'm looking at the while we were talking, I was looking at our picks, and so we got Zay Flowers. So we really got like a receiver, or cornerback. I wanted Deontay Banks for cornerback, but he went to the Giants. And I wanted Porter Jr. But he went to the Steelers. But
I think Joey Porter Jr. to the Steelers was just going to happen no matter what. That's why no team picked him. They were like, we're just gonna let the Steelers have him.
Yeah. So I love because for our receiver I wanted either JSN, but he went to the Seahawks. And Zay Flowers. I mean, I'm not mad at either Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, he's a short receiver, like kind of like a Hollywood Brown, but I think his catch ability, like run after catch ability, is better than Hollywood. He's faster at the run after catch. Well, I don't know. When I looked on his height, he was 5'11", but on NFL Network or NFL.com, he's 5'9".
He's 5'9",
182.
That's what I thought. Zay Flowers, if you look at him, he looks 5'8", 5'9".
His NFL comparison is Travis Benjamin. I'm not sure who that is. He's from the Panthers.
Chargers receiver.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Benjamin is as quick after the catch, or at least as shifty as Zay Flowers is, but it's not a bad comp.
Yeah, his strengths are sudden feet to slip. Routes are fast, and he maintains his momentum. Fell the first round, and then you got Trenton Simpson. For third round, I wanted Kelly Rango for cornerback, but I know with the whole Patrick Queen story, they're drafting a linebacker. He played at Clemson. His NFL comparison is Darren Lee for a linebacker, corner NFL. His ideal traits he can be a spy on mobile quarterbacks. He's good stack and shed twitch when taking tight ends. He quick squeeze routes underneath. He has an explosive charge forward when activated as a blitzer. So he can play, and he has a starting experience in linebacker and inside out linebacker spots. So he can play like the hybrid linebacker, alpha linebacker position. Mm-hmm. That's a good pick. And then the third pick we had was Tavius Robinson from Ole Miss, I think, or
Ole Miss.
No, I'm sorry, Mississippi Edge. And then we got Stanford Caillou Blue. Apparently he created like a video game, I think, or something like that. I don't know.
Those Stanford guys are pretty smart.
And then we got an Oregon outside tackle, Malaysia Mojave Laulu.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So we did overall. Our grade on NFL was an A. Day 1 A, day 2 A, and day 3 grade A. So we did pretty well with what we had. I know we didn't have a second round pick because we traded that for Waquan last year. So we just had a first, third, and I think a seventh and a ninth, I think. This is the first year that EDC didn't trade back or didn't trade up. He used all of his picks straightforward. Usually he trades back or gets more picks for comp, but it's the first year EDC kind of stayed put and just drafted how the board fell. So
Says hey. That it does. Well, before you guys go, let's answer this one really quickly. I'm not surprised. Any of you surprised?
No.
Okay.
Nah.
I mean, I love Duggan, but yeah, he wasn't going to go.
No.
All right, Dylan, how do you feel about the Seahawks?
I love it. I love our draft. I mean, that's how I felt about last year's draft, and we arguably had one of the better draft classes last year too, and I feel the same about this one. You know, I already kind of made a case for Devin Witherspoon at 5. Basically, he's just kind of a scheme fit. He's a scheme fit, but also he's like a personality fit for the team. And then when you get to pick 20, JSN pick 20, I am so happy about that. Being there at the draft, when I saw no receivers go, I was like, I wouldn't be upset if we got JSN or Nolan Smith here at pick 20, and then we ended up going the JSN route, and I was ecstatic. What Seattle lacks when it comes to the receivers, when it's DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, or both of those guys are outside guys. They're not type of people that are really big run after the catch. The type of guys that are going to get open and then just keep running. They're big kind of, outside the number type of guys. And what Jackson Smith-Njigba does really well is he's a very good inside the numbers guy. He's a good run after the catch type of guy. You can throw it to him in the middle of the field and he'll get it a lot better than what Lockett or DK will. I think it's a great weapon, a great fit. It's going to help Geno, I think, tremendously when it just comes to progressions down the field, because you now have a receiver who you're not too scared throwing it down there, because he can turn 5 into 10, or he can turn 10 into 20, and yeah, that's not really what you had when it came to DK. He needed to kind of, a little more time to get his acceleration going. You need Tyler Lockett to get a little crafty on a route on the outside, burn his defender. And then with JSN, have a guy that we can throw in the middle if we have to. It gets a little less pressure off Geno, makes check down so much easier for the team. Love the pick at pick 20 for Seattle. And then we honestly did really good from then on, just getting defensive needs and just needs overall. We ended up getting Derek Hall out of Auburn, a linebacker that I really like. I think him and Uchenna Nwosu will complement each other well. I thought it was a little bit of a reach there. I thought, there's a couple other options, especially having thank you. I like that. But John Michael Schmitz was on the board. I thought, center was kind of a need that Seattle really needed, and not taking him there was a little hurtful, but overall, I think it was a great draft. We ended up still picking up defensive linemen. We ended up picking up a center in the 5th round in Olusegun Oluwatimi from Michigan, who's a really good center in his own right. This was a really good class for centers this year. So I think in any other year, he could have been a 3rd to 2nd round pick. So overall, I think Seattle did really good getting depth in positions that we really lacked. We did good in getting another safety in Jarek Reed II. And then, like I said, getting 2 running backs. Our running back room was very small. We didn't have anybody out of, like I said earlier, DJ Dallas and Kenneth Walker, with Rashad Penny and Travis Homer both leaving this offseason. So getting 2 young running backs, you don't really have to put a lot into them. It's not like you spent a 1st round pick. I know you spent a 2nd on Charbonnet, but overall, it doesn't mean you're tied to him a really long time. And then Kenny McIntosh out of Georgia. He's a really good pass catching back, and I think he'll complement that Seattle offense well. If you are on like a 3rd and 15 and you need a big play, he's a very good receiving back, or even on screens and different things like that. I think he'll help the Seattle offense well. Overall, I really love the draft. I think we got, going into it, I probably wouldn't have had Seattle getting Witherspoon and then Njigba with our first 2 picks. But now that I look at it, there probably wasn't a much better route that I see Seattle getting than that right there. So I'm very much happy with how our draft played out this year.
Okay. So Anthony said Seahawks and Lions won the draft in my eyes. And then John, you rather have Witherspoon over Carter or Gonzalez? I didn't see Witherspoon going to Seattle.
I made the case over Carter, and the case over Gonzalez is Seattle already has a tall, big corner. So what's the point of having a second one, really? Gonzalez is good, but Gonzalez wasn't going to really do far much different than what we were already getting with Woolen. I know Woolen's way bigger of a speed threat, but I think Witherspoon's more of that physical guy that, can lay a boom on a receiver more than what Gonzalez does. And I think just personality-wise, Witherspoon fits Seattle's mold better. And overall, I've been saying through this whole draft process that Witherspoon was my number 1 quarterback over Gonzalez. So I'm happy with the pick.
Okay. Jake, what about the Saints?
I'm pretty happy with how the Saints draft went. Like I said earlier, as I was watching the draft and Nolan Smith kept dropping and dropping and dropping. I was like, oh man, are the Saints gonna get him? That'd be like a dream come true because I've fallen in love with him. His combine was excellent. But they got Brian Griese out of Clemson, and the more I've looked at it, the more I'm like, this is the right pick. This feels a huge need that they need at defensive tackle. He was I think it was the number one recruit when he came out of high school, went to Clemson. Fantastic player. He had an ACL injury this past season, so that's why he wasn't as high up. But ACL injuries in 2023, you can recover from pretty quick. Medical science has gotten a lot better with that. He's also extremely resilient. He's extremely mature. He lost his sister in a really tragic way. I know I'm surprised ESPN didn't triple down on the tragedy because that seems to be their go-to with the draft is tragedy. But they've been honed in on this guy forever. He's a great need. He's a great fit. And I'm really happy. The more I've researched it, the more I've looked at it, I'm like, this is the perfect guy that we need. I really like Isaiah Foskey at Notre Dame. They're really fixing that front four for the Saints. It was a big problem last year. I thought he could potentially be a first-round pick. I think he had 10 sacks last season, and that was really good. So the first two picks were great. Kendre Miller out of TCU, he's good. He makes people miss. We need some help. There's always a concern about Kamara being suspended potentially, and he averaged like 6 yards a carry in college, so I think he's going to be really good. And yeah, like you said, John, like Jake Haener, I put in our group chat that we have for our shows, like, am I being too much of a homer and thinking that Haener could work in New Orleans? And the more I look at it, I'm like, this is a really good spot. He's going to be the third quarterback in his rookie year because Winston's going to be the backup. Winston's on the last year of his contract. No one's going to want to trade for him. He has no value, so he's going to be a free agent next year. And Haener will be the backup quarterback to Derek Carr next year. And I think, depending on what Carr does, it won't be too long before Haener could be that guy. He's scored very, very high on all the IQ, all the awareness stuff. His accuracy is unbelievable. I loved it. Like I just saw it and I was like, this could be. I was looking at him like, this guy kind of looks like Drew Brees. And I know it's a bit of a homer for me because Brees is my guy, but
I was on the Jake Haener hype train, like when he was like his first couple of years at Fresno State, and then he just kept staying at Fresno State. So I was like, well, you're going to be doing the same thing at the same school every year. So like, call me when you get drafted, basically. But yeah, he's really good. Fresno State runs a very interesting offense. They do a lot of passing plays, and honestly, their offense, I wouldn't say is similar to the Saints in a sense, but like at least when it comes to the passing attack, they do like kind of doing what the Saints do when it comes to spreading out their receivers. I think Haener is a great pick. You know, I'm glad he went as high as he did, and I'm glad he's going to go to a situation where he has a potential chance to start because, you know, I think he's really good. I think he just stayed in college for a while, and there's nothing against that.
Yeah, I'm super hyped on it. Derek Carr is again a low ego kind of player. I think he's going to be able to learn a lot that year that he's going to be waiting, and also, like, he grew up as a Saints fan, and Drew Brees is his idol. Like, how cool of a story is that it just happened? Super happy for him. Super stoked. Like, it's really cool. I love how that went. And then the back half of the Saints draft, they got Nick Saldiveri. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name. He's a tackle at Old Dominion. He's really good. He didn't allow a single sack last season. They're probably going to move him to guard. I think he has like shorter arms, but he's going to be a really good offensive lineman. And the safety they got out of Minnesota, Jordan Howden, I mean, he was a walk-on and then turned into a really good player, so you know he's got some good character. And then A.T. Perry out of Wake Forest, good speedy guy, set records at Wake Forest. It was a great draft. You know, before all the Sean Payne stuff happened, there were very minimal picks the Saints had, and they did great. They filled all the holes that they needed. And Jake Haener, I'm going to be on the hype train until he proves me wrong on that.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear about your Patriots, Kyle.
I mean, what can I say? No, I was about to say, Anthony teased that he had a basketball question. You can throw that in chat now because after this, we'll go to the NBA. But I liked what the Patriots did. I liked the Gonzalez pick.
That was awesome.
As a corner, you know, I think he will do well in the Patriots system. And now looking at the cornerback room, you're dealing with Gonzalez. You have Jack Jones, John Jones, Marcus Jones. I think those four could be really good in the secondary. Push Jalen Mills back to safety, which I think.
Any quarterbacks with the last name Jones in this year's draft? Because I feel like you had something going there.
Right. I mean, that would have been kind of hilarious if they added another Jones back there. But I think throwing Mills in the safety, you also have Duggar, who's in the box, hits guys, Peppers. Like I'm loving the secondary for the Patriots right now. So I think adding Gonzalez to that, really love it. Keon White, who's actually a converted tight end to defensive end. He put up numbers for Georgia Tech last year. I'm interested to see like what he does with Judon on the opposite side. Can he catch some one-on-ones, beat a couple of tackles, make some plays in his rookie year? Because Uche, I believe, is a free agent next year. Maybe Keon White steps in for Uche next year, and it's a seamless transition. But I love that pick as well.
Don't you guys have Dietrich Wise still on the team?
Yes.
He kind of reminds me a lot of like how the Patriots will play like Keon White is. I think how they play Dietrich Wise right now.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. So I do think Keon White will be in the rotation this year, and I'm interested to see how he performs. They went on a bit of a run with interior offensive linemen. I mean, what's his name? Is it Mafi or whatever?
Yeah.
Mountain of a guy. City Sal, mountain of a guy.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping between the two of them, one of them clicks next year and is in the guard rotation, because I think Onwenu's a free agent after next year. It'd be really good to see one of them replace him if he does move on. They brought in Andrews, who's a center/guard. All I kept hearing about him was he's a mauler. That works for me. Offensive linemen need to be maulers because you have to have kind of a nasty streak to you, especially as an interior guy, because a lot of cheap shots that be going on after the whistle and stuff. I like a guy that likes to, give it back. But where I think the Patriots did really well was the however you want to pronounce it. I'm going to go Butte. Sounds fancier. And Douglas, the two wide receivers they got in the 6th round. I love those picks because, a lot of people were wondering what they were going to do for Mac Jones. I think Butte, if he realizes his potential and plays like the guy that a lot of people thought was a first-round talent, that's a complete steal in the 6th round. And Demario Douglas is he's just a football player. He's a shorter guy. He played at Liberty, which a lot of people are like, oh, what's Liberty? But when he played against Arkansas and Wake Forest last year, he put up big numbers when everybody knew he was getting the ball. Can you say that name again? All right, Anthony. Butte. So I like those picks. I love the fact that they went with a kicker and a punter because Nick Folk is like 300 years old.
They didn't take the first kicker, but they didn't take the first kicker.
Right. The Niners said, we'll take him at 99, and the rest of the NFL, do what you want with that. So obviously, once Moody went, the Patriots, who needed a kicker, they felt they needed to take one at like 114 or something. They took Chad Ryland, and they actually took his holder in the Senior Bowl, Behringer, to be their punter a couple of rounds later. Behringer, apparently all he does is he booms punts down the field. Whether or not he's able to keep them out of the end zone, I kind of don't even care about that. He could learn that part of it. But I thought New England drafted the punter. Yeah, they drafted Behringer out of Eastern Michigan.
No, Michigan State.
Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah. I knew it was one of the Michigan schools. So, yeah, he has experience punting in cold weather. Ryland was a kicker in the Big Ten. So I think that's going to do really well in New England. They had Jake Bailey. That situation got really weird. He got suspended. He threatened to sue the team or something. He's now gone. They needed a punter. They got one. And then they ended it with taking Bolden out of Jackson State, which we know Deion Sanders said was the only HBCU player taken. He's upset by that. And I think Bolden led the country in kick return average at like 37 yards a return, which sign me up for that if he can do that for the Patriots next season. So I definitely love a lot of their picks. And I guess on top of that, Bill Belichick did say Mac Jones is the guy. So put to bed all the stuff about trading him and all that. and I think that's going to help Mac Jones' mentality going into next year. It could be a really big year for him.
I heard the Patriots were going to try to get Will Levis if they were able to offload Mac Jones, but they weren't.
So Mac Jones is the guy because they didn't draft a quarterback or trade for a quarterback.
Yeah,
basically.
That's pretty much how it works.
I heard all throughout the whole draft process, like they were going to like take Will Levis if they were able to trade Mac Jones, and they weren't. So they were just like, well, run it back.
Well, yes, yeah, because that's one report, and then there's like another report that apparently Bill Belichick was never interested in trading him. I think he
I don't
kind of
believe
wants to see what he does with Bill O'Brien. Maybe next year, if it doesn't work out with Bill O'Brien, then I think maybe they would probably entertain it. I think for this year, they want to give Mac Jones like a clean slate. You have a guy who can run an offense. We gave you Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Gesicki.
A real offensive coordinator.
Right. So let's see what you can do, and then we can evaluate you. So one says Mac Jones has 2 more years. If you don't do anything, then he might be gone. Right. I agree with that.
Yep. 2 years at the most. It could be even less, depending on what who's available.
Who's their I'm surprised like the past and like drafted quarterback late rounds, just for security.
Zappy's the backup. Zappy fever.
Apparently, they love Zappy. They love his work ethic. They love
Zappy, happy, flappy.
They just love everything about Zappy.
They got Malik Cunningham, so they're
right.
good in the QB room.
Wait, what's his first name? Boot.
Kayshawn
Boot. Okay, or the Boutte? I don't know.
I don't know. I need to find probably like some LSU tape to see how they pronounced it. I've heard like 3 different pronunciations of the last name, and I have no idea which one's right. And I feel like I need to figure that out because I think he will be contributing in some way next year. So I'll figure that out after the show, and we'll see. Like Anthony said, Chargers drafted Max Duggan. Yes, I love Max Duggan. I think he's probably a career backup.
Is he gonna get to play though? Because Herbert's there.
No, he's a backup.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a career backup.
Herbert gets hurt.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Yeah, if you take him that late, he can't have too many.
Duggan to Johnston in the NFL.
He might make a Pro Bowl appearance. Duggan.
Not everyone's Tyler. Not everyone's Snoop. Yeah, not everyone's Snoop.
Snoop Huntley.
Archman.
Oh man, that's scary. No, that's a bold prediction right there.
He needs to figure out how to play good in a spring game for his
I saw some of the highlights from
that spring game.
Trash in that spring game. Yeah.
He looked horrible in that spring game.
Yes. So
maybe they're back.
Bennett might play. As soon as talking about Stetson Bennett, yes,
I'm all for it.
Yep.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, because we don't know how durable Stafford is.
Stafford's going to get hurt again. That team's going to struggle, and they might just see what they have with Bennett. 100%.
Yeah, I say
Bennett's going to be living that party life.
I say Bennett will probably play before Duggan because, and like the question was on the Monday Night Show. I said that like Bennett was and the Rams were a good fit because like obviously Matt Stafford, he's probably like a couple hits away from, because the doctor even told him that it's his choice to play this year because he had that spinal injury. So. And plus Matt Stafford played at Georgia. That's been playing at Georgia. They had that connection there. And then I was gonna say that he's probably not gonna start off the bat Bennett, but if he gets hurt, then Bennett might come in and he's fortunate he has Sean McVay.
Bennett's only gonna play if Stafford gets hurt.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's all it is. And Stafford's probably going to get hurt.
Even still, I'm not even sure Bennett's going to even be the second quarterback on that.
Who's there?
If I had to throw a random dart and guess who was on the Rams roster, my guess is Bryce Perkins. But no, I guess you go to ESPN, it does say Stetson Bennett. Who knows? Look at that. Yeah. Okay.
So and
then I don't know who Dresser Wynn is, but Dresser Wynn is the third quarterback.
Are you thinking?
Anthony, you're right. I think Hooker is going to play before Max Duggan. 100%. 100%.
All right, so we're hour 40 in.
I think if I had to take a bet, I would take Bennett to play over Bennett to play over Hendon Hooker.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're just saying that Duggan's not going to see much playing time.
Oh, you
for
said
a while.
Duggan. I thought you said Hooker over Bennett, and I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
we're talking about
I
Duggan.
have it
Hooker
the
over
other way
Duggan.
around.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so we're hour 40 in. Want to talk about some basketball?
Let's
So
do it.
We'll do this really quickly. But first, I want to say, so Anthony, like I said, your basketball question put in the chat. I want to go back to John, who said Embiid should not have gotten MVP.
Wow.
How many of you agree with this?
I don't
Because
know if he's trolling or
I do have the voting, and I'll tell you how the voting went. But yeah, anybody agree that Embiid shouldn't have won MVP?
No, he deserved it.
he deserves it.
If I had a vote, I would have voted for him. So
Okay. Well, here's how the voting went. Maybe this might surprise you. So Joel Embiid, we know, won. Jokic was second. Giannis came third. Jason Tatum was fourth. Shea was fifth. Donovan Mitchell. Then Sabonis, Luka, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson, and John Morant. That's how the voting went.
I like Shea at 5. We ball.
Yeah, I mean that's fitting because he had a really good year. And
He did.
He got the Thunder into the play-in, which a lot of people didn't think they would be able to get to. So I'm happy he got some love. Now, after Giannis, nobody got first place votes, but for Shea to get votes enough to get fifth place, I'm happy for him.
it's pretty cool. That's cool.
Anthony says MVP is what you've done all season. Jokic should have won it. Well,
I thought Embiid had a better season. I thought his team played better. He was a better defender. He led the league in scoring, and I just thought he had the better. I thought he had the better season. The Jokic kind of tailed off towards the end there, and that matters for MVP voting.
I think Jokic had a strong case, if he finished out the season. But regardless, I think, when you look at it, Embiid led the league in scoring. He wasn't too far behind in rebounding. I think 1.5. And then assists obviously will be a big difference, but what he misses on assists, he makes up in defense, which is what Jokic, I won't necessarily say lacks, but compared to Embiid is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
I think Embiid is hands down should have won it. Maybe it was a closer race, and it would be a lot closer of a race and more of an argument if Jokic did finish out the season. Regardless, Jokic did finish with more games played, even missing the last end towards the season. So I can see why people are a little upset. Overall, yeah, I would say Embiid. I mean, it was kind of unquestioned towards the end of the year, but people will have people will have their remarks when the reward has been named. So understandable. I can see a case for Jokic, but
Did they show like the vote numbers of how many votes Embiid got?
Yep. So
How much-
Embiid got 73 of the 100 first place votes.
Mhm.
He
So
got
that's all we need to
25 second place votes. He got 2 third place votes for a total of 915 points. Jokic was second with 674, so a sizable win for Embiid. So Anthony says whoever has Ja in the MVP race needs to stand in front of a bus.
well, that's why he
That's a
finished.
little
not-
harsh, but yeah.
I
Someone
mean,
probably had him,
Ja
like,
got
third
1
at
point.
one.
He had one.
He
one
got
person
third.
put
Someone put him third in one ballot once.
fifth. So
Fifth,
one person
oh.
put him as fifth in their ballot, and he got 1 point. That's why he was, I guess, in last with Jalen Brunson. So not like a bunch of people put him on the ballot. But yeah, so the points went 915 Embiid, 674 Jokic, 606 for Giannis, and then
Ooh.
280 to Tatum, and then it drops off to 46 for Shea.
Giannis getting that close is
Yeah.
A lot of the voters really like the Giannis's complete game. They say they know the MVP buzz is always around Jokic and Embiid, but they just feel like Giannis is the scariest player in the league now. How things went with the Heat could kind of change some of that, but they vote on like who's the one player that strikes fear into my heart the most, and that's for a lot of people that's Giannis.
Yeah. So John said, the reason I say that is because look at the triple doubles or triple triples compared between him and Joker. Everyone was crying about MVP shouldn't miss so many games. How many did Embiid miss? And can the Nuggets win without Joker? Because 76ers can win without Embiid. Only thing I'll say is the how many games thing doesn't
Literally a
matter until
3-game
next
difference.
season.
It also Nikola Jokic and Embiid, the games played is literally 3, and
Yeah.
then actually Joel Embiid played more games than Giannis too. So
Yes.
Yep.
Let's see if Embiid wins it next year. Remember, you have to play 65 games.
he played 66. He
He-
played
he-
66.
he would've qualified.
He would have hit the threshold. He
Yes.
technically would have hit the threshold by a game.
And also like a center to put up 33 points and 10 rebounds. I think he averaged 4 assists and almost 2 blocks. Like that's a historically great offensive season for a center that needs to be rewarded on top of the defense, on top of the fact he's in the tougher conference, had a better record than Denver. And you have to look at too, Philadelphia didn't start the season off great, and they've been a really strong team since like December. I think that matters. Whereas Denver started strong in a weaker West and kind of fell off. And you always have to look at narratives. MVP voters are always about the narrative,
Yep.
about the story, and Embiid's story was stronger. And you have to worry about voter fatigue with Jokic. Do we really want Jokic to be one of like 3 people that's won 3 consecutive MVPs, or 4, I guess it would be? And it's the right person won, as far as I
Yeah, I mean, I say Joker would have won it if he would have didn't have that kind of like that last season like stretch of like kind of like bad games.
Agreed.
But
I wouldn't
he
even
was,
say
like,
bad games. It was
not
like
bad,
just
but
a
it's
stretch
like
of bad games and then
kinda
just not
slid.
playing.
He kind of slid, a little bit. It wasn't like a slide, but it was like kind of like a little dip. And Joel kind of like was when Joker went down. I mean, Embiid was playing and he was producing, but it's gonna be interesting to see this. Not just like the three runners up. Like that's for everyone next season for MVP. Like that's for Tatum. I mean, then Jaylen Brown next year. Like the 65 game threshold. Like are players gonna be able to is load management going to be a thing next year? So
Well, I mean, like Dylan said, Embiid hit it. Tatum hit 65 because I think Tatum played like 70 something games this year.
Giannis wouldn't have hit it. Giannis would
Right.
not
Correct.
been in
Correct.
contention for an MVP.
Yeah, so I think the top guys will be there unless it's like a catastrophic injury. Then at that
Unless
point,
it's a real
they're not going
injury.
to be an MVP anyway.
Unless
so.
it's a real
Yeah, how
injury,
do
they're
they-
going to be there.
like how does that work? Like with if it's like a solidified injury, does that count towards like the MVP?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to play 65.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I mean, if you had like a knee injury and missed 3-4 months, should you really be MVP anyway?
Nope. You shouldn't be all NBA. The league is too talented with the NBA for all NBA defensive player. All league is too deep to just say, "Oh, you played 50 for like LeBron or AD. You played 50 games, you get it." Nope. There's too many good players.
Yep. And John, to go with that, Freddie would say LeBron should have won it. He probably would have.
Okay. I
He
bet he
probably
did.
saw that come across the screen that Embiid won it and threw something against the wall. Hot, dare not give it to the king. Well, they didn't. All right, so I do have a couple more questions. Let's go lightning round.
Let's do it.
Oh, did that touch a nerve with you, Jordan? Because I said LeBron shouldn't win it.
No. Go ahead. Coast to the show. Go ahead.
All right.
I won't steal your show.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, so lightning round. Bigger disappointment, Bucks or Grizzlies? Whoever wants to start.
Bucks.
Bucks.
Bucks. I'll go first. I'll keep this real short. Like both teams are very disappointing. The Grizzlies are disappointing because they're front runners. They did all this trash talking. They couldn't back up even the tiniest little bit of it. The reason why it's not as much as the Bucks is the Lakers, even though they're a 7th seed, they're a good team. They started off the year horribly. Since the trade deadline, they've been a very, very good team, and no one was really expecting Memphis with the injuries that they've had to overcome what the Lakers did. Still disappointment. Milwaukee, they should win that game with Giannis missing those games that he did. They were the betting favorite. They were the best team. If you ask people around, not MVP, but who's just the best player, a lot of people, myself included, say Giannis. You have to beat this Heat team. This Heat team, I hate this Heat team. They're not good. They win games they shouldn't win. They find ways to do it. Tons of props to Jimmy Buckets. He's great. But the Milwaukee Bucks, they were the 1 seed. They were the betting favorite, and you lose the way that they holding leads in the 4th quarter in both of your last losses. Absolutely the Bucks.
Yeah. All right. Well, trying to think of what my answer be. Bucks or Grizzlies? I'll be different. I'll say Grizzlies because Ja Morant can't sit there and say we're not worried about the West, and then you can't make it out of the first round. I'm sorry, you can't say stuff like that.
What about Brooks?
He's gone too.
He's gone now.
Grizzlies already came out and said they're not
We're
like
done with
re-signing.
this kid.
And I thought that was hilarious. That's been
Said we're
just a
really
couple
fine.
days, and already the reports out there. Yeah, we're not bringing you back. So let's see where Brooks ends up. Maybe he'll be.
Maybe
Maybe he'll be the next Chinese basketball league star.
Maybe the Hawks with Trae Young. Maybe I don't know.
No, please.
Maybe with the Lakers.
That
No.
no.
You know,
If
LeBron will
LeBron's
never
not on the
allow that.
team, then sure.
Actually,
You know
Brooks
what?
will end up in
No,
Toronto.
no, Toronto's going to try and get away from all these like 6-7 wings because they have too many to begin with. He fits the mold, but they have too many of these guys anyways.
I hate that Memphis blames Brooks for the drama, but not John Morant. Good question. That's a good point. John
Yeah,
Morant
they were
brought
like,
on a
we
lot
want to
of
go
drama.
in a different direction with trash talk, and it's like, well, let's also not forget your franchise point guard was literally doing the same exact thing.
Right.
No, the
It's
whole
just
team,
easy-
the
it's just
whole
easy to
team
blame
just
right now.
just fell apart, and they're so easy to hate, and it's a bummer because they should.
I mean,
be
what's like
more
what,
liked.
like what's that saying? Do stupid shit, you get stupid rewards or some shit like that. Like what's that saying? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. If that's not the saying, it makes sense what you said.
Like you do stupid things, you get stupid rewards. I mean, draw.
You play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Dylan. How come you didn't speak up when after
And I was just thinking about it. You got it.
There you go. Like John was in the club branching the gun. I mean, it's just been like half the season.
Plenty of issues.
Dylan Brooks kind of poked the bear a little bit. LeBron kind of and the Lakers did,
you gotta
did their thing.
you have to be playing better than to say
Yeah,
crap like
of
that.
course.
You have to back
and
it
then
up. Come
to
on.
answer you to the first question, the Bucks. I picked the Bucks because I'm keeping it short and sweet. It's just like I don't know, other than Jimmy Butler and maybe Kevin Love now, the new addition. I don't know any. I mean, one of Vincent. I know Oladipo got hurt. That's a big piece on the bench. But I don't know, like Gabe Vincent, like really, like how you gonna lose to Gabe Vincent? I know Giannis missed a couple games, due to like a back injury, but I mean that means the other player that had to step up. I mean, like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, he was nowhere to be found.
I think that's a bigger issue for Milwaukee. Middleton just doesn't look right.
There was last year too. I mean, I know he got
Yeah,
his
it's been the past couple
injury
years.
too.
Middleton's either been hurt
it's
or
like-
just hasn't looked right in the playoffs.
Hasn't looked
I
right,
agree.
and in that last game, I mean, there was so, like I said earlier, like there were so many ample opportunities for the Bucks to like take the lead in that game, and like I mean, I know Jimmy Butler kind of like he pushed off a little bit, but that was still a difficult shot. No matter how if you did a shot in the open gym, they're like, yo, like people be having their cameras out, like, yo, how'd you get that layoff off? Like, even though he had a little push off, but
I mean, the push off
He-
created all
yeah.
the room he needed to get it off.
I mean, did he like push him off? Like, did he really fall to the ground, push off?
He pushed him off.
All right. I mean, let the players play, man. It's a playoff at basketball. It's not like you blatantly push the dude. Yeah, he's good, great space.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony's all over this job with the 1 point from MVP. I mean, yeah, they don't disclose who the one person was, but
There's always dumb voters. It's just how
It's
it
probably
is.
you, Anthony. Probably you, Anthony, being a little secretive, man.
all right. Next question. What is the best second round series?
I have to
I
say,
think it's fun.
I think it's a toss up between. I think when it just comes to like star-studded talent, you look at the Lakers Warriors and you're like, man, this is going to be fun. But when you look at like true basketball, like you look at the Celtics and 76ers and be like, one of these guys, whoever wins this game, might win it all. The Bucks are out. Like whoever wins this has a legit chance. And then you look at the Heat and the Knicks, and it's like, whoever wins this game, like if your team's out, whoever wins this game is who you want to win it all.
Are you a secret? Or you're scared? Jordan, it was Ja with the strap. Yeah, I'm sacred, LOL.
He meant scared.
I'll say here, like I think there's the one to watch is going to be the Warriors and the Lakers. That one has two teams that I feel like aren't your traditional 6 and 7 seeds that we would see most years. The Warriors, they really had a struggle during the regular season. They got Wiggins back. They're healthy. Draymond Green really seems to be amping up his play like he does in the postseason. His defense against the Kings was fantastic. Steph Curry was awesome. The Lakers, like I said earlier, they're not your typical 7 seed. They played much better since the trade deadline. There's so much history between Curry and LeBron. That's where all the attention's going to be. I would want to say that the Nuggets and the Suns would be the one that I would want to watch, but with Chris Paul out and the Suns having no depth, like I think this one's going to be over because it's a groin injury for Chris Paul. That's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same injury that took him out in Houston when they had the Warriors on the ropes in 2018, 2019. Pretty sure it was his groin injury.
I think so. Yeah.
And groin injuries, like they say, like, oh, miss a couple of days. Like you just have to wait on a groin injury. That's the thing that sucks. There's no treatment and it affects your movement. He's already old. It's going to take him longer to heal. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like he's done. Like he's not going to play in this season, and there's no depth to Phoenix. I think the Nuggets caught some breaks there, but I kind of like this Knicks Heat kind of thing going. There are two teams. You think back to '90s basketball, they really hated each other. Both of these teams.
Sorry. Now, I just that you said that, I was literally watching ESPN today, and they were just showing like at work, and they were just showing like old clips of the Knicks Heat rivalries, just like throughout the day, and I was like, oh man, like
these two teams hate each other, and they're both physical. They're both very physical. They're both really well coached, and I think they're both teams that overperformed our expectations for what we thought they would be earlier in the season. I thought the Heat were going to be done. I know they were the 1 seed last year. I thought the Heat were going to suck, and it's going to be it's going to be a team that's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be really exciting. We're going to see Jalen Brunson and Jimmy Buckets really kind of show the moment for and Madison Square Garden is always going to be crazy. So I think that's the one I'm going to be watching and excited for the most.
Okay. I mean, well, Jordan, you said Lakers Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, like
what a surprise!
I mean, like Dylan said, I mean, there's the biggest stars on the biggest stage. I mean, second round got Curry, Clay, Draymond, and
Austin
AD.
Reeves.
I mean, yeah, I mean he's going off too. Yeah. So LeBron, AD, what a second round series. Another series is good. Like I said, I think the Heat and Knicks series is good too. I'm watching it right now. It's like a 2-point game. They're without Butler right now, so I mean, can the Knicks get the edge tonight? We'll see. It's like 9 minutes left to go in the third quarter. I think the Suns. It's not really a good series because last night's game was pretty good. It was like back and forth, and then the Nuggets kind of like pulled off. But I think besides the Lakers series, I think the Philadelphia 76ers series, because I mean, can the 76ers finally make the Eastern Conference Finals? And I don't think so because all these Celtics are in their way. But the question will, like you said earlier, that Embiid is probably not going to play game 2, probably can play game 3 or 4. Or when he gets healthy. So the question is, I mean, if Embiid doesn't come back like in the next couple games, I mean, Celtics are gonna. Well, actually, it's 1-0 Sixers. I thought it was 1-0 Celtics, but they lost. So actually, they have the kind of upper with the series lead. But if Embiid doesn't come back or doesn't come back in a couple games, it's Celtics. They can probably win it in 6 and 7. But if Embiid comes back, I mean, that's a game changer. He provides the rebounding, the defense, the playmaking, the scoring. And maybe they said Harden kind of cools off in a couple games, and maybe not. Maybe he had another good second game.
He's not in shape for that. Come on, man.
I mean, he had 61, 51 or whatever.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was fantastic. But do you expect him to put up 35, 40?
Who knows?
I don't think so. He's not in shape for that. He's too old. He wants to be the guy that goes 20 and 10.
He's like 30, 31.
That's why he wants to go back to the Rockets. He doesn't
how old is he?
all the young guys do.
He's like 33, 34, 30, 32.
Well, it's more just like his shape. He's never been a guy that's he always get these injuries. His hamstring is always there. It's always a problem.
But yeah, I mean, but I think the Lakers is the much. I mean, that's for every basketball fan. I think that's the most popular.
That's the one that ESPN's going to market and build and get. And it's going to sell
LeBron,
the ticket.
Curry,
Yep.
Anthony Davis, Klay
It's
Thompson.
all the story, all the attention, all the primetime spots are going to go there, and justified so. They're the two biggest players of the past 15 years is Curry and LeBron.
I go Heat Knicks because I'm a '90s kid. I love that rivalry that they had. You know, Allen Houston, Lonzo Mourning. You know, Jeff Van Gundy being dragged across the floor, grabbing Mourning's leg as they're fighting. Like that was me as a kid watching that. So that's definitely the series for me. Now, next question: how would you describe the Kings season?
It's a win.
I'll go first. It's a win. You're bummed.
Douglas.
You're bummed in the end because
Going on
you were
big
up.
time.
Yeah, you're up 2-0 on the Warriors, and you're feeling really good, and you were a 3 seed. But you tell the Kings fans heading this season, they were feeling good if they were going to be in the playing game. They're like, yeah, a playing game? I'll take that. That'd be great. No, you have your guy, De'Aaron Fox is a stud. He's legit. He's all NBA. Sabonis is fantastic. They were right there. If Sabonis played better in that series, they win that series. Like they're not far off from it. The coaching was fantastic. Sacramento hasn't had a great team since 2004. So you're bummed, but at the same time, you're going to look back and be like, we got this team. We got our dudes. This is exciting. It's a win for sure. And yes, the Kings will be back next year. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna basically harp on anything else extra too long, but overall, like, yeah, you basically you think of this season like, well, damn, like we really could have been better. Like, you look at this season as a massive win because, like Jake said, any Kings fan was like playing, okay, 6th seed, that's cool. A 5th seed, like, dang, you're really giving us some praise. And it's like you were a 3rd seed with arguable chances to win your, like, an arguable chance to win your first series, and then potentially your second, and maybe even from that.
Yeah,
but
I think
overall, if you're the Kings, you think, you know, we're right there. We need to retool, look at why we lost and what we could do better. You know, it's hard to stop Curry. Curry's just one of a kind, and he's going to drop 50 on you some nights, and that sucks. But overall, like, injuries suck, and just run it back. Like, you're right there. You just need to just beef up that lineup. You're right there.
I think if the Kings would have won that game when Draymond got suspended, they would have had the upper hand in that series. But hey, they they thought Draymond, he's out. Nah, so what? But so that would have definitely changed the series if they would have won that game because Draymond does so much. Even if he can't score, he can facilitate and make plays. So that was a big game that they dropped in the series. So, Dick, you're muted, man.
It comes down to Sabonis. Sorry, I muted myself. It comes down to Sabonis. They couldn't hit a bucket in that Game 3 loss, and Sabonis just didn't. Yeah, he was great. He was great all year on offense, and just kind of underdeveloped. It did underperformed, and I think they're going to work on this. They had their moment. Every teams like this, they get in the playoffs. They need to learn how to play in the playoffs. Kings got that. They got plenty of experience, and like John says, to take the defending champs, a Steph Curry team, to 7 games.
Yes,
that's impressive. And you know what? The sad thing is, if they were the 4 seed, they would have won their series and been in the second round, because they would have beat the Clippers at the 5 seed.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a bad matchup. They're a bad defense. So they're going up against Steph Curry, but you're stoked if you're a Kings fan.
Yeah. The way I describe it, progress. Like that's all. It was progress for next year and the years to come. And Mike Brown, has shown he's a really good coach. Now they can take this core, maybe change a few pieces on the edges of it in the rotation, and come back better next year. So, last question for lightning round: who wins each second round series?
So I'll start. If I'm going, man, I'm going Suns. I'm still going Suns. I think
Okay.
they'll figure it out. I think they'll figure it out. You know, we've seen Kevin Durant carry a team before with less, and now he has Devin Booker with him as well to try to help. And
Who's gonna be their
I think,
point guard, bro?
man, who cares? Who cares? You have
What?
Kevin Durant. You have Kevin Durant.
What Kyle?
I
What's
mean,
his
over-
name?
I'm
That we
making,
could
I'm
both
making
think?
a hot take, Jordan. I'm making a hot take. We already know the Lakers are the 2023 NBA champions in your mind. I'm making a hot take, Jordan. That's why I have the Lakers losing the next round. Go Warriors. You convinced me. But
I love it.
like
I love
said-
the energy.
like I said, I'm going to take the Suns in a hot take. I'm taking the Warriors in the next round as well, and then on the other side, I'm taking the Celtics, and then I am taking the Heat. As much as I don't want to see the Knicks lose, and as much as it's tough, I think Jimmy Butler comes back and still plays out of his mind. I mean, you know, the Heat team, they still won without Butler after that game one after he left. I mean, struggled. But overall, I think this Heat team, I think they can get it done. I think they can get it done. They have a lot of fire, no pun intended. And, you know, Spoelstra is one of those coaches that, yeah, get him in the playoff time, he's good. But Lakers 6, Denver 5, Boston 7, Heat 6. He almost agrees with basically everything. But yeah, so that's how I have winning.
All right. Jordan, how do you see it going?
I'll start with the Heat. I mean, actually, it's a really good game for game two. It's like 66 to 67, I think, right now in game two. But I have, man, I want to say the Heat because Butler, when he comes back, but I want to see Knicks winning. I want to see the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm going to say Knicks in 7. Then I'm going to say Denver, gentlemen's sweep. I just don't think that they have I'm going sweep. The only way I say going to 5 if like the Suns win the next game, which they probably may. I think KD having a monster game, but with Jokic and Jamal Murray, he's fresh. I mean Porter when he gets in rhythm, and Caldwell Pope, man, he's like an X factor. And like Jory and other people say, like Suns have no bench depth. So I'm going with Denver, gentlemen's sweep, bring out the broomsticks. I'm going Lakers in 7. It's gonna go all the way to game 7. I think AD and LeBron are gonna have both big games in one of those 2 last games, 6 or 7. And then. And I think Draymond's going to get suspended 1 game. Again, he's going to lose his temper tantrum. I see it.
It could happen. I doubt it, but it could happen.
I mean, it happened against Sacramento. And no one said it was going to happen. So, and then I have Lakers in 7, and then I have. It all depends on Embiid when he comes back, and I think. It's gonna be a Celtics in 5. Now it might sway my
Celtics just take the rest of the series. Kyle likes the sound of that.
It might swing my opinion if Joel comes back. Maybe it'll go to a game 6 or 7.
Embiid will be back in the series.
So yeah, and then if it's factored in, I'll say Celtics in 6.
Okay.
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, those are the picks.
I just don't think that Suns can make it. I mean, because Chris Paul, he's still at his age, he can still shoot and mid-range shooter and stuff, and his playmaking ability is like, who's that dude that we both hate on the bench on their is it Cameron Payne? Oh, he's gonna be a game changer? No.
Well, I mean, to Dylan's point, if you have KD and Booker, all your point guard really needs to do is get the ball past half court.
And
one of those guys can initiate the offense.
And Joker owns Ayton. I mean, I'm sorry, Joker owns Ayton.
I would say Ayton had a fairly decent game regardless yesterday. He looked okay. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. Jake.
I'll keep it quick. In the West, I think the Lakers Warriors is a really tough one. I'm going to go with the Warriors. I'm not picking number of games. That's a little. But as far as
understandable,
I think this is the best version of Steph Curry we've seen. It's not his best season. 2016 was like the historic season, but I feel like Steph Curry, he's more physical, he's stronger, he's shooting the ball better, he's actually doing better from 2-point. I just feel like he's unguardable, and when he can go off for 50 in a game 7, and you just can't plan for that. Draymond is playing like a defensive player of the year. He's a great passer. Clay seems to be back. They got Wiggins, and he's kind of the catalyst for that team. He was the second best player on their title run last year. I don't feel great about this pick, but it's like I just feel like Curry's going to be better. And do I trust that LeBron, as much as, and look, I love LeBron James. He's fantastic. Is he going to be able to play a full 7-game series without having a dud here and there because of his age? And Anthony Davis, are we going to worry about an injury with him or him getting nicked up? Those are the concerns. I think the Warriors win. I think the Nuggets are going to beat the Suns. I was pretty iffy on this before. Losing Chris Paul hurts a lot, and it has more to do with their depth. They're not a very deep team anyways because of the Kevin Durant trade. Now they're down 2-0. I think the Nuggets are going to finish the job. I have no doubt the Celtics will beat the Sixers because all the Celtics have to do is run the ball up and down the court. They'll tire the Sixers out, and then they can just play their brand of basketball. Heat and Knicks. I want to see the Knicks win. I hate this Heat's team. I hate the Heat team. They're like Michael Myers. He just doesn't die. Just keeps coming back. And because of that, I think they're going to win. It's going to be a 7-game series. It's going to be really ugly. And Jimmy Butler is just going to add to his playoff resume, and he's going to go off for like 40 points in MSG and wave goodbye to the Knicks fans. And close out the series.
Before Kyle takes the prediction, Douglas just said what I was about to say. Like, because like to be fair, to kind of yes, AD if he gets hurt, but Curry can get hurt too because Curry missed half the season with the shoulder injury. He has weak ankles, so he can twist an ankle.
He doesn't have weak ankles anymore. That was solved like 6 years ago.
How come he still has 2 ankle braces on his ankles?
That's just protection.
That's protection.
Exactly. Why protection if he doesn't have weak ankles?
Right. I'm telling you, if I broke, this is coming from a guy who's breaking his ankle twice. I still walk around wearing an ankle brace just because, just for like the feeling when I play sports, just to know like I have that tension there to be safe. So it's 100%.
But to be fair, it's just like I don't wish any injury on any player. Because the NBA can happen at any point, but to be fair, you can't forget about Curry. Curry, he his shoulder, he might re-aggravate the shoulder. Want to bump on a.
I'd be more worried about Curry if he played like Ja Morant. Curry plays on the perimeter a lot more. It's a lot safer for him. The only way he's going to injure an ankle out there is, he takes
not his ankle. I'm worried about his shoulder.
Somebody slides underneath his feet. He lands funny. That'd be my worry about Curry on the perimeter.
His shoulder is going to be fine though. Like he's gonna play smart. I think the concern is for me with whenever Anthony Davis falls down, whenever he's on the ground, I'm always worried he's going to be hurt when he gets up. And I feel like a lot of people kind of agree with that sentiment for Anthony Davis. With Steph Curry, I'm not expecting him to get hurt. His game, he's going to age gracefully with his style of play. And LeBron James, as much as I love LeBron James, he's old. Can you keep it up? Because he has to kind of, I don't want to say phone it in, but he has to play.
That's what Dylan Brooks said. Look, and he's in
Dylan Brooks can't shoot.
I'm just saying though.
LeBron had I don't remember which game it was, but he had a lower scoring game in the series. Like he's not going to be able to bring it all 7 games because he's old. He's also dealing with that foot injury, the plantar fasciitis, and that's a big deal. So I think age for LeBron and Anthony Davis just falling down all the time.
Age like fine wine, brother. Age like fine wine.
Look, all right.
I want to go back to John's point here. Let's be honest. Lakers have a lot of bandwagon fans too. If you look at the Lakers, Warriors, I'm sure there's a lot of Celtics bandwagon fans. Bigger name teams have a lot of bandwagon fans. So let's not act like the Warriors are the ones that have them. I'm sure the Mavericks have a lot of them. So, yeah. I just want to say that for John.
John might come back hot on you, Kyle.
I'm not running anywhere. As long as this camera's on, I'm here all day. The question from Doug.
Might need to add John to the show one of
these.
these days, man.
Huh?
Might need to add John to the show one of these days.
I mean, like I said, I'm not going anywhere. The question is, how well will the Lakers bench play against the Warriors bench?
That's a
That's
good
a
question.
very
yeah.
good question.
That's a good point.
That's probably where this series might be won or lost. You know, who will be that key contributor? Well, I mean, for the Warriors, going to be looking at Poole. Poole's a guy who's going to have a big series for the Warriors to win. And if you're looking at the Lakers, it could be maybe it's Reeves, maybe it's Beasley, one of those guys. But I definitely think it's going to be one of the others. I guess it's Shaq. Here we go.
Oh man,
Warriors are like Seahawks fans. Haha, I had to throw fire to the Seahawks fan on the pod. Okay. All right. I mean,
I don't get that comparison because both of our franchises have had fairly different success in the recent years.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how many people really flock to the Seahawks. And Matt Flynn was.
I don't know.
maybe Legion of Boom. Maybe those days.
Maybe people like the defense, but I think that was it. People like the players. They'd be like, "Who's your favorite player?" They'd be like, "Cam Chancellor." Who's your favorite team? Oh, I'm still a Cowboys fan though.
I'll say this as someone who grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Up until the Legion of Boom, the Seahawks, like the 12th man, like they were good, they were popular, but it was definitely like a Sonics or a Mariners town in some of those instances. The Legion of Boom is where some of the hype really came from, and justifiably so. Don't get me wrong, like they're the team in Seattle now, but there was definitely a time in the 80s and 90s where it wasn't quite so much.
Yes, definitely.
Now they're cracking her in town.
Yeah, bro, knocking off the Stanley Cup champs.
Yeah.
Moving on to the second round. I'm happy with it.
Release
Go
the Kraken.
Kraken.
Release the Kraken.
Such a great name. When they said it was the Kraken, I was like, yes, that perfect name.
Yep.
Oh, wait, John, you're the Carolina fan that oh man.
I live here in North
you're
Carolina
looking
because
for-
of Wilson went to North Carolina State. You couldn't find a Seahawks fan until Seahawks went to the Super Bowl. Now you can't find them.
That's probably more of bandwagoning just because of location. Like Seattle's very devoted in the Pacific Northwest.
here.
They're diehards.
I'm right here. You see one right here.
Exactly.
Kyle, I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, we're here every week. Oh, I forgot to give my predictions. So I got Warriors in 7, Celtics in 6. The Nuggets Suns one is if the Suns turn to Warren and Ross, who are just sitting on their bench for whatever reason, might go with the Suns. I did pick them before, but I like the Nuggets now in 6. I've got the Knicks in. Oh, actually, that's a tough series too. Because like Jake, I can't stand the Heat at this point. But if the Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals, if you want to see a fan base that's going to get on your nerves, the Knicks fan base, if they make the conference finals, will get on everybody's nerves. So I don't know if I need to see that. But I like Jalen Brunson. I'll go Knicks in 7. At the risk of my own sanity, give me the Knicks in 7. All right. I mean, I had player guest people. I mean, want to do those really quickly, just end the show. You can do that.
I have to head out personally. My girlfriend's at work and I have to go pick her up. So I would have to head out. But if you guys want to,
I mean, I can
I'll
save them.
I'll send
We
you
can
my
save
good
it.
energy.
Yeah, I'll save them for next week because
We did have an NBA question from someone in the chat that we
Curry, all
did
time.
Did you ask?
never got to.
Oh, Curry all time. Is Curry top 10 all time? Right there?
Oh, I missed that one. Yeah, hold on.
Top 10.
Where was it?
If he gets another finals, yes. There we go.
There you go.
So
There's my answer.
So I actually
He's
thought of-
probably on the cusp if he's
Go
not
ahead.
in there already. Just basically saying I would have to look at a list and actually make out an order before I would be like yes or no and have to think about it. But overall, if Curry is not on the cusp, he is very close. I mean, he's a 2-time MVP, multiple-time NBA champion, 3-point leader. I mean, he kind of set this new era of basketball ablaze. When you think of how the game is played today, you think of the main reason that's happened is Curry's definitely one of those pioneers. And maybe he doesn't have at least the total points, the assists, the steals, the triple doubles, or anything like that, like some of these big guys have. But, breaking the 3-point record as fast as he did is something that's pretty crazy. But with that being said, I think we'll probably see that record be broken again. And that's just because Curry changed the game. He made this like type of way of basketball to be played. So if he isn't top 10, he's definitely one of the pioneers of this. And I wouldn't say pioneers because I guess that's old, but he's definitely one of the people who changed the game to what it is today. And
No,
that
he's a
should always
pioneer.
be remembered.
He's a pioneer.
That's what a pioneer is. I mean, someone who changed the game, and
So-
like you can't really take that away from him. Top. I mean, I'm not sure if he anything meant like top 10, like
All time.
of, like
All time.
Oh,
What do
All
you
time.
Yeah.
So Jordan, while you think about that, because I actually, ironically enough, I was thinking in my head today, who would my top 10 be? Like I saw some post on Reddit or something where someone had mentioned it, and I was like, who would my top 10 be? And it's really tough when you go back to top 10. There's like 3 players that are really hard to kind of figure out, at least for me. It's Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just because I didn't really ever see a whole lot of those players play live. But I think you have to look. I'm going to finish my thing and I'll get to John. You have to look at the impact that Steph Curry has. You have to look at what he's done for the league. He's a pioneer. He's changed everything.
That's like
I think it's kind of a wait and see. There are 2 players right now where it's really hard to put in where they are in the top 10. It's Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. We need to see how their careers play out. But I think when it's all said and done, Steph's going to be a top 10 player of all time. I think he's probably going to end up passing like Shaquille O'Neal, who's on most people's like 9 or 10 list. I think he's going to pass Shaq because Shaq was, for a while there, the most unstoppable player in the league. And Curry, when he's hot, he is literally unstoppable.
Yeah,
so I
bro.
think
Like,
he will be.
Who just runs up to the half court line and just throws a
chucks
3
it.
because he's on fire and then makes it.
Um,
And then just makes it.
I'll say for John, Clyde Drexler is not. No, I'm
That's the
sorry.
name that threw me off. I haven't seen. I don't know many people who I've seen would throw Clyde Drexler in there.
There was some
Really good
debate
player.
if Clyde should be in the NBA 75. There was legit debate. It's like, is he really going to be like? Where's he going to go for there? And Jordan, yes. Bird, yes. Magic, yes. Isaiah Thomas, I don't know, man. And I might be, by it's all said and done, I think I'm taking Steph Curry because he changed the game. He's unguardable. Like, you can't say take away the 3-point line for Curry. It's like, okay, well, do we want to take away the dunk for Kareem? Do you want to take away, that's what he did. He's fantastic. And I think when it's said and done, he's going to be like number 8, number 9. Oscar Robertson's another player it's really hard for you to place in the top 10. Played so long ago. It's hard to put players that are like that. You really almost have to go from like players from like 1980 or 1975 till present to get like a real top 10 just because the game has changed so much.
I would agree with like the MJ Bird and maybe Isaiah Tom and Magic. I agree, but Drexler, kind of threw me off.
Those are all ahead of Steph.
But I would definitely say that, to agree with Dylan that he is like the pioneer and he changed what the 3-ball is. I mean, obviously there was 3-pointers like before Curry came in, but like the deep ball, like half court shot, like where it's acceptable in a sense where, I mean, if you're open, like you see Dame doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You see like LeBron doing it, doing it from the logo sometimes. So it's like he changed.
Let me just cut in real quick here. I didn't say Isaiah. I said there was some debate about Clyde Drexler not being top 10, and that's not my vote. I'm just saying what I heard other people say when they did the top 75 was that some people were saying, where does Clyde's on that bottom end there? Isaiah Thomas is definitely top 10. He's top 20, no doubt. I don't have a top 20 list, but he's definitely top 20. So don't worry about that part. Like Isaiah Thomas is fantastic and, in my opinion, underrated.
Because unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas is known more for like the walking out early against the Bulls and his feud with Michael Jordan than actually on the court, where Isaiah Thomas was lethal on the court. I always remember he hurt his ankle. I think it was that finals game. He dropped like 25, had the ball at the end of the game dancing around. Like, that's my image of Isaiah Thomas, not the, Jordan stuff. But
sure.
I mean, I was about to say that we're running kind of late on time because there is like the wrestling show coming up like probably in a couple of minutes. But appreciate the questions in the chat. We'll probably get to some of them next week because I have remembered a couple that we didn't get to. But John's last comment, Drexler was one of the best that was overlooked because of Jordan during the time. I do agree with that. Drexler is kind of
How different is
gotten a little
Drexler and Dominic Wilkins? That'll be my last thing there. How different are their play styles? And you're not going to put Dominic in ahead of Steph Curry. I'll leave it there.
That's not a bad point.
All right, well, the mic drop. There you go.
I mean, that's a good closing remark. I mean, John, look,
John's gonna have to come back with that.
yeah,
man.
John, come back next week.
You continue.
We'll definitely have more
I love
NBA
it.
talk, and you can
I love the
rehash
debate.
this and remind us because yes, we love this debate as well. But Drex was like John Morant.
All right. That's the end of the
We
show,
will
man.
touch on that next week. But for myself, Jake, Jordan, Dylan, like I said, we gotta get out of
Yo,
here.
John, you should come on the show, man. Like next week, if you have a mic and everything, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be
He
pretty
put
funny.
LOL. Yeah, so like I said, we gotta get out of here for the wrestling show that's coming up. So, no closing remarks, anything like that. We'll just say thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like, subscribe, share. Appreciate John, Douglas, Jory, everybody who's in chat. Here every week, 7 o'clock. Like I said, John, always here. And, really appreciate you as well for, your questions. But that's going to be another Big 3 episode in the book. We're out of here. Stay tuned for, I think it's Line in the Sand, the wrestling podcast. We're out. See you next week. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Go Lakers.
Oh.
That had to sneak in there. God.